Thank you for staying with us for the news. Now, in our first story, the Ghana Police Service is unhappy about the latest Afrobarometer report that rated it the most corrupt institution in the country. According to the service, all personnel have been professionally trained and are expected to discharge their duties without inducement. Deputy Director General of the Ghana Police Service in charge of Private Services Organization, DCOP Kojo Entwi Tabi, tells JoyNews the public can be partly blamed for the acts of corruption recorded. He explains why in this interview.
The members of the public too must be blamed for the type of police, the accusation that they are making. They are also equally guilty because if you don't give the police money, he cannot take it from your pocket. If you commit an offense and the police want to charge you for court, you have to allow yourself to go through the due process. Because at times, even when you go to court, the offense may not attract a serious fine. But when you tempt the police with money, when you don't want to go to court, then you are giving the police chance, an unscrupulous policeman, chance to demand any amount of money because you are not willing to allow yourself to go to court. You see, so at times I think the public too, and there's a need for education. In fact, we've been talking to them, we've been training them, and from time to time, those who are offenders, that is the policemen, if you are found to have collected money or to have extorted money or to have done something unlawfully, we normally punish them. Some of them are dismissed. Some of them, depending on the nature of the offense, they are even sent to court after dismissal. And so unless it doesn't come to the notice of the police authorities, as far as it comes to the notice of the police authorities, the right punishment is meted out to the erring policeman. So when something happens and you are not happy, you have to report to the policeman. But if you don't, it doesn't get to the authority of the police, the police authorities, that is the attitude or the conduct or misconduct of the policeman concerned, it becomes difficult for the senior officers to take action.
Well, in our second story, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has assured Parliament that he will ensure talks with the IMF are positive and do not bring undue hardship to Ghanaians. The minister made the comments at the conclusion of the debate on his mid-year budget review statement. Now, the minority are also standing by their claims that the central bank has printed more than 22 billion cedis to fund government's operations, despite the Bank of Ghana debunking the allegations. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante has the rest of the story in the following report.
The minority and majority leaders concluded the debate on the floor with a spirited argument from Haruna Idrisu, the leader of the minority, that the mid-year budget review offered no hope to the Ghanaian public.
My disappointment in the Honorable Minister for Finance that his mid-year review offered no hope to the Ghanaian populace who are reeling under unparalleled hardships.
But Majority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu blamed the current economic crisis on the NDC's opposition to the E-levy and its late passage, as well as the war in Ukraine and COVID-19.
However, the situation in Ghana got exacerbated when confusion ensued here in Parliament over the passage of E-levy. That sent a bad signal and triggered panic to the business and investor community. The rating agencies downgraded Ghana, and this made it impossible for government to raise new bonds. In the event, investors started disinvesting. The Russian interference in Ukraine compounded the situation.
The minority are, however, standing by the allegations that government has printed 22 billion cedis. This is despite the finance minister and central bank denying the claims.
And for the avoidance of doubt, that the NDC caucus in Parliament stand firmly by the original position that the central bank has printed 22 billion Ghana cedis.
Dr. Kisela Tufosen is also alleging a breach of the Bank of Ghana Act.
The so-called 11 billion still breaches the Bank of Ghana Act. Because under the current Bank of Ghana Act, it is only when the government requires up to 5% of previous year's revenue. Previous year's revenue was 70 billion. So 5% of 70 billion is about 3.5 billion on top of my head. So 3.5 billion. Now you have said you have given them overdraft of 11 billion. The law talks of advances representing overdraft. Under the current arrangement, under the fiscal, agency agreement between the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana, they cannot lend to them.
He also says John Kuma, the Deputy Finance Minister, has very limited knowledge about the operations of the Bank of Ghana.
I heard the Deputy Minister of Finance, John Kuma, trying to say that if the central bank lend money to government of Ghana, it doesn't mean printing. I beg to say that if this is his understanding of economics, then he has no business at the Ministry of Finance. Because he doesn't know that when the central bank gives money to government, it's printing of money.
The controversy surrounding whether or not government has printed 22 billion Ghana cedis could drag on for some time because the minority are not changing their stance. Indeed, the majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, refuted those allegations on the floor of the House when he concluded the debates from both sides on the mid-year budget review. Indeed, the finance minister was on the floor to assure MPs that he will ensure that the IMF deal that the country will get eventually will not bring untold and undue hardship on the ordinary Ghanaian citizen.
As we go through the year, we would ensure that this engagement with the IMF is positive for the country, and the country will be back on course. I thank you very much indeed.
Now, in our next story, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust says it is aggressively pursuing private partnerships to manage its assets and achieve optimal benefits. Successive reports from the Auditor General have cited SSNIT for abysmal performance in respect of its assets, giving the average pensioner very little benefit. Speaking to journalists after making an appearance at the Public Accounts Committee, Director General of SSNIT, Dr. John Ofori Tenkrang, explained that they are seeking partnerships to turn the situation around.
And the majority of the issues had to deal with legacy investments, and some of them going back as far as 1996. What has happened is that since our job is to make sure that whatever investments that were not performing, we are actually taking steps to make sure that they perform. Some of the things that we've done is that for some of the investments where we do not have proper oversight control, or we are the majority shareholders, we have gone out to try and seek private sector participation, specifically in our hotels. You may recall that we put an ad in the newspaper where we seek private sector participation so that people who know how to make money in that business get into the driver's seat and we tag along. There are certain things like how we do our investment appraisals and what kind of structures, investment structures or vehicles that we put in place to undertake these investments. We have revised our investment guidelines to ensure that, for example, SSNIT will not get into a joint venture with a party who is a minority shareholder, and that party ends up getting all the construction contracts, for example. So there are this and many other things that we have put in place to make sure that proper due diligence is done before we enter into investments, and also to make sure that the oversight is improved.
Well, tied to that, SSNIT has also had issues with ineligible persons drawing pension and instituted a biometric system to weed out such pensions. According to Dr. Tenkrang, the new system is working.
Since we started this exercise in 2018, we have withheld some over 320 million odd Ghana cedis that would have gone to pensioners who may have died after they have exhausted their guaranteed pension entitlement. And that for people who are on PNDC Law 247, that is the age of 72 And then people who will be on Act 766 would have been the age of 75. But right now, no pensioner who is on 766 is that old, because it's just recently they started going on pension. But yes, that has to do with making sure that every year pensioners reach out to SNET and get biometrically verified. This is actually, we know that sometimes it's an inconvenience for certain pensioners. For example, somebody may be bedridden or may be incapacitated to be able to come to SNET. Let me use the opportunity to inform the nation that if you are such a pensioner or you know somebody like that who is unable to reach out to us by coming physically, if they inform us through any of our contact channels, be it on social media or be it on phone or email or whatever, we will go to wherever the person is and authenticate them so that we do not stop their pensions.
Let's move on now, and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has reiterated government's commitment to bridging the widening developmental gap between the Zongos and urbanized Ghana. This will be done with accelerated construction of dozens of educational infrastructure in the Zongos and inner cities. He also blamed past governments for undertaking populist policies in the Zongos, like sharing of handouts and food during Ramadan. A practice, he says, has done very little to improve living conditions there. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at the commissioning of the newly constructed 6-unit structure for the Tunga Islamic School. There's more in this report.
Pupils of Tunga Islamic Basic School have over the years been crammed in a 3-classroom, a situation that adversely affected teaching and learning. The challenge has now been eliminated with the completion and commissioning of a 6-unit classroom block by the Zongo Development Fund. According to Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the successful completion of the facility underscores the government's commitments to the Zongos.
Zongo Development Fund is the frontline-led agency and vehicle through which government seeks to ensure the realization of the development objectives relating to Zongo communities. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, since Ghana attained independence, we have had no budget item that has ever been consistently and deliberately allocated for the development of Zongo communities in Ghana since independence.
He said the commitment is made evident in the budgetary allocations specifically for the development of the Zongos. He listed a number of completed and ongoing developmental projects across the country.
Since its establishment, the Zongo Development Fund has executed over 300 projects, including classrooms, health facilities, roads, water system, bridges, drainage systems, libraries, ICT centers, and in many Zongo communities across the country. We have also built many modern AstroTurf football fields in many Zongo communities for the youth.
On her part, Communications Minister and Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West constituency, Adwoa Safo, said the completion of the facility proves the Akufo-Addo-led government is a keeper of promise.
Some people thought that it was a campaign gimmick. Because it was close to the elections, we were coming to deceive the people that we will build it. And they didn't want to risk demolishing their only Islamic school for a new building which may not happen. So despite the fact that people think politicians are liars, let me remind us all that this building here is testament to the fact that President Akufo-Addo and his appointees are honest politicians.
The Vice President encouraged the school authorities to uphold a high maintenance culture to keep the school in good shape.
Let's talk malaria now. And Nibima, Tabia, Educhumwa bitters, among others, are highly touted for their anti-malarial prowess. but concerns have been raised about their safety. It is therefore assumed many educated people would be deterred from gulping down herbal medicine. Surprisingly, that is not the case. In a joint study by the University of Saarland, Germany, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the researchers found that the more educated a person was, the more likely he or she was in terms of taking herbal medicine.
Malaria can be treated with artemisinin-based combination therapies, and indeed, the WHO advocates the manufacture, import, stockpiling, distribution, and subsequent applications of medicines such as artemether-lumefantrine, among others. At the same time, countries such as Ghana over the centuries have developed a tradition in treating malaria with locally produced herbal remedies, including branded names such as Tabia or Time Herbal Mixture. The scientists in their study sought to find out the personal preferences and applications of anti-malaria medicines in Ghana. For the study, over 1,000 questionnaires were distributed in Ghana from January to May 2019. The findings, published in the journal Sci, found around 2/3 of respondents rely on herbal medicines. They again found the more educated a person is, the more likely he is to take herbal medications. Professor Anto Bakwin of the Department of Pharmacy Practice is part of the research team.
I would say that they topple a lot of conceptions that we had about herbal products. One had to do with the fact that the educated normally didn't go for herbal when it comes to management of common conditions like malaria. But this particular study did indicate that the majority of the educated, when I mean educated, people with tertiary degrees and the like, seem to prefer herbal products. And we're looking at why. One thing that came out clearly in this particular study has to do with the fact that the level of advertisement associated with these herbal products, you know, the advertising space in this country normally by law prevents the advertisement of orthodox medicines for management of, normally you don't hear any advert like artemisinin, lumefantrine and other things to manage malaria. It's a well-known thing, so no company will want to advertise. But these herbal products are new products and formulations coming from various sources, and their channel of making, the only channel available to them is advertise. And in a day, you can have a lot of adverts. And to be honest with you, no matter your beliefs, when you are being bombarded with adverts about a particular product, there's always the temptation to try that product.
One of the collaborators, Professor Jacob Klaus from the University of Saarland, who was surprised at the findings, was worried about the likelihood of contamination and uncertainty of the active ingredients among others.
These contaminations, of course, give you also side effects. E. coli can give you a very bad diarrhea, and heavy metals can give you poisoning. But that is different from the active ingredients. So I would not worry too much about this as long as the purification process is okay. But then still you can have side effects.
Lead scientist Prince Yabua of the University of Saarland believes it's about time attention is placed on refining herbal products to ensure safety from their suspected disadvantages.
Basically, this is the commonest disease that faces the population. So the government is to help the local industries refine the product that the people trust in, the people like to buy, and other things. It will go a long way to help fight the economy of Ghana.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Now in our final story, work on the BK Adama Multipurpose Youth Resource Center in the Upper West region is nearing completion. The project, which is in 2 phases, is expected to be completed before the end of the year. Consultants for the project disclosed to the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Pius Enam Hajide, during a tour of the multi-million city project that work on the first portion of the project is 98% complete, while the second phase is about 45% complete. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
Construction of the Upper West Regional Multipurpose Youth Resource Center, now rechristened after an illustrious son of the Upper West Region and Ghana's former Defense Minister, Bukar Kwela Sundanga Adama, affectionately called BK Adama, started in 2018 and was expected to be completed within 9 months. Owing to some constructional challenges and changes in the original architectural designs, however, could not be completed. Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Pius N.M. Hazide, in a meeting with Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, adduced reasons for the delay of the project.
The first phase is around 98% complete. The first phase. The second phase, which actually turns the project around and makes it self-sustaining and economically viable, because you know the culture of maintenance, and we had to put in measures to ensure that the facility can self-sustain. We had to wall it and introduce some ticketing booths so that from time to time, for some specific games, when the decision is made that a certain token can be collected, those monies can then go back into maintaining the facility.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, on his part, noted that the construction of the project brought excitement to the people, especially the youth, who are of the belief that the project, upon completion, will harness and hone their skills and talents.
It is my expectation that if we are able to harness our efforts together, we should in no time see the completion of the facility so that it will be put to use. A few days ago, I took a tour of the facility, and it was there I was informed that the phase 1 was virtually completed and that they have started the phase 2.
The National Youth Authority Chief Executive Officer later joined the Upper West Regional Minister to inspect ongoing works at the Multipurpose Youth Resource Center. They were conducted around the facility by resident engineer Adam Sasana, a consultant for the project, architect Phobia Sebere, further outlines what is entailed in the project.
FIFA standard. The drains has been, you have a drain that connects around the periphery. It's also irrigated. So it's the reason why even for a place like Hua, you continue to find it green. Their boreholes support the watering, and the proper drainage system is also being done to complete it. And so the total drainage system was also in the phase 2. Which is to help ensure that the stadium is well drained. So as we go around, you see new drain networks which are also being constructed to ensure that instead of just leaving the area like what usually happens on most football fields, you have the area being green and the rest, we are adding a lot more value to the project within the phase 2.
Government is constructing 10 of the multipurpose youth resource centers across the country. However, due to inadequate funds, their focus, according to the National Youth Authority Chief Executive Officer, Pius N.M. Hazide, they will be focusing only on 5.
We are quite excited at the output of the contractor. So far, after the break, the short break, the contractor has gone back to site, and you can see that work is going on, and we are quite excited. We are pleading that he can expedite a little more. But we also want to put on record that WA is one, if not the only, or one of the few, if not the first, most advanced site that we have. And we want other contractors to also emulate the good example of HAPK and also expedite and up their game.
The first phase of the multipurpose youth resource center in the WA municipality is almost complete. The focus now is on the second phase. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam,
Wah!
And on that wah note, we end the news. The news review is up next. Do stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us as we get into the news review this morning. We're joined by founder and leader of the National Interest Movement, Dr. Abu Sakara Foster. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great. Before we get into the papers, quite a number of items to digest, but I want your quick take on some interesting matters germane to our national life. We're talking about the latest Afrobarometer report, for example, which shows that, guess what? The executive branch is in the top two. I mean, the Ghana Police Service and the executive. The office of the president in second. So first two slots from the executive. Then you have the legislative, body in third position. And guess what? The judiciary is in fourth position. Basically, all three arms of government occupy the first to fourth positions. I would like your quick reflection on that, and as well as your take when the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, says they are going to get us the best of deals from the IMF, echoing or re-echoing what President Akufo-Addo has been saying. Your quick thoughts on these two matters.
I think the first thing is the commonality between the Article 71 holders in two of those categories, the presidency and the judiciary. And we have long argued that one of the key things that we need to do is to review the terms of those Article 71 holders, and also as a means of cutting down some of the waste and bringing into proportion their treatment in respect to other wages. That's just the first key point. The second point, of course, is with respect to the executive. The fact that for many years now, the overspending within the presidency has not been properly accounted for. And there's been previous requests and current requests that the accounting for expenditure within the presidency be more transparent. Of course, people argue that, these are close to state secrets and so on, and we cannot disclose everything about it. But I think there's a very small proportion of that are related to state secrets. The rest of it is generally the excessive travel, which we all know about. And this is one of the key things that I think we need to, put a rein on if we are going to reduce the amount.
Did you say excess travel? Because in recent times, we've been told that 30% of executive salaries have been slashed, that 50% of fuel, disbursement to some, members of the executive has also been slashed, and that, in fact, there's been some sort of freeze on travel, apart from very relevant travel. You're aware of that?
You're saying that is a statement in recent times, but then the fact of the matter, and as we all know, is that it has been going on for quite a long time. And not only that, when it does happen, the number of people who accompany the executive is also something to be alarmed about. So if we really want to focus on reducing expenditure, these are areas that we can reduce expenditure by more transparency. And perhaps then you wouldn't have these questions about, its rating on the Afrobarometer index. Now, the other thing, of course, is gift giving. As you well know, in our political system, there's quite a lot of gift giving from the presidency. Where does all this money come from, and how is it accounted for? So you have to go into the details. If you want to see where you can make savings, you have to go into the details. If you have to go into the details, there has to be greater accountability and transparency. So I think that's the main thing that should be said. How the judiciary comes into it, I don't know, but probably from the same amount of travel side, because it is typical in public officialdom for travel to take up a significant percentage of the budgets. And the question is, we keep going on all these, what would I say, study tours to do better, experience building, fine, some of it. But really the amount of it it's a bit on the excessive side. If we talk about capacity building, surely our capacity should have been built by now.
And just to top up, in my interaction yesterday with another person who joined me on the show, mention was made of how, for example, a lot of these state vehicles, V8s, most of them, they go for a function and they are left running for as long as the program will last. 2 hours, 3 hours, they are running. Some say, oh, it's a security measure so that if anything, whichever officer or CEO or minister can just jump in and get away. But in the meantime, that means that if that minister attends 3 programs and each program lasts 9 hours, it means apart from the time on the road, the engines are also going to be on for 9 hours. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you.
Well, I think, you see, there are some of these things which we should stop doing and stop giving excuses for doing them. This is a common thing that you see at functions. Basically, the drivers are enjoying the air conditioning. I mean, that's the basic thing of it. And, the other thing I would like to say is that if indeed it is a security measure, how do the misty windows where the driver can't even see outside help? And in any case, how many times have we had occasion for these public officials to have to resort to such security measures in the country? So I think some of these, and in any case, even if it were, can you afford it? And that's a key question about government. There are certain things that you can't afford. You don't have to copy everything that other people do. They do that because they can afford it. You can't afford it. You got a good V8. Most V8s will start the first time that you start them. So I don't buy that at all.
And it's an interesting phenomenon. Right before we get into the daily graphic, I start from there. I just want your final take on this matter. So the president has reiterated his commitment to putting up a national cathedral. He says, guess what? There'll be no good time to put up a national cathedral. And so he's going to go ahead with this. Of course, he told us after getting elected that this was a promise he had made to God. In the interim, looking at how much we're spending on this and looking at the other dynamics, we're going to the IMF and all of that, what is your reaction? Especially as there's also the possibility of this becoming an uncompleted project, which then, if there is a change in tenure, could become another white elephant, abandoned project. I mean, these are all realistic dynamics. What's your take?
Well, the first thing is that, based on principle, I have never really supported that project because you must separate temporal from, sectoral matters and be clear about it. A cathedral is a temporal issue. Those who are involved in it and who are proactive in it, should take the initiative to do that. And we have several churches all over this country. And I don't really see the need for another one. I believe that the sectoral issues we should be concerned about should be focusing on building, industries to create jobs. That's our primary concern. You go see the number of churches in Accra. If all those churches were, industries, there'll be so much more employment. But of course, people have a right to set up their church and do whatever they want to do. It's the freedom of worship. But really and honestly speaking, if you just take a very objective view and you go around the country, where even there's no primary school for kids to go to in a village, there will be a church, a proper church building. Now, of course, people have their priorities. But my point here is that if you don't invest in industry with as equal passion as you invest in places of religious worship, then don't expect to see jobs.
Right. On that note, let's get into the papers now and take a look at what the daily graphic is telling us this morning. SNIT removes 21,000 ghost pensioners. Exercise saves nation 312.27 million Ghana cedis. That's the story, the banner headline, basically, as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned. Just let's get a bit into that. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust has saved the country 312.27 million Ghana cedis as a result of the deactivation of 21,337 pensioners from its database. The savings follow the inability of unscrupulous people to renew the life certificates necessary for the collection of pensions from April 2018 to June this year. The affected pensioners, who have been presumed not to be alive, failed to go to SNIT offices across the country to renew their pension certificates within the 5-year period, thereby preventing the National Pension Fund from paying any pensions to them. The Director General also talks about tracking pensioners and debt recovery. In terms of the non-recovery of the 2.8 billion Ghana cedi loans SNIT granted various companies between 2009 and 2016, Dr. Ofori Tenkran said the trust had developed a new investment policy document to guide such transactions in the future. Let me also just add that the Director General made mention of the fact that while they've taken off these names, if it so happens that for somebody, maybe the person is unable physically because of age or whatever to confirm their certificates, which is why they've been struck out, they can find someone else to, do it for them, just so the right things are done. What is your reflection on this story, especially considering that a lot of people are still complaining about the pittance they get as pension?
Well, I think the first point is that you have to have a systematic way of doing this that is live. And to do that, we must think of a way of linking that to the national database or the national identity card so that it's kept live, and also you can link that to the issue of death certificates. There are too many things that the documents that are used for various exercises that are kept in disparate places. So a serious attempt to consolidate all this information in one place so that automatically you can pull out from the death certificates issued people who have actually died. And I think that will be very, very important for efficient operation of this, and to make sure that you do not remove somebody who is still alive. Because in the first place, as you say, there's not much to it anyway, because the value of the money they're getting has depreciated over time due to, currency depreciation, high cost of living, and all these other things that we all know about. So what they're getting is a pittance, particularly when you compare that to what Article 71 holders get. So this, again, is one of the disproportionality in the remuneration of people who are going on pension. Somebody who has worked as a teacher or a police officer is, struggling for some, 18,000, 30,000 Ghana cedis distributed over a year. And then, other people are taking home 600,000, every 4 years. So those are the disparities. And when you compare that some of these people are people who have actually lived and served in rural areas, and it affects rural areas more than those people in urban areas, then you have to be willing to err on the side of, making sure that people do not get taken off, accidentally, and ensure that at least they continue to get that until you can verify all these details. Don't just remove them and then wait to verify it.
Let's also get into another matter that today we'll be contemplating with our members of Parliament who will join us in the studio. Parliament to decide Adwoa Safo's fate today. That story is on page 20 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And Parliament will today decide at plenary, that is the full House of Parliament, whether or not the seat of the New Patriotic Party Member of Parliament for Dome Kwabenya should be declared vacant automatically for absenting herself from the House for more than 15 sitting days without permission from the Speaker. For what we gather, the longest has been 28 sittings. That was after the Privileges Committee of Parliament had, by a majority decision, recommended that Sarah Adwoa Safo's seat be declared vacant automatically. In the view of the committee, Ms. Safo failed to take advantage of the numerous opportunities and facilities offered her to provide reasonable explanations with regard to her absence without leave. And so, quote, therefore, pursuant to Article 97(1)(c) of the 1992 Constitution and the Court of Appeal decision in the case of Professor Stephen Kweku-Asare versus the Attorney General and 3 others, the Dome Kwabena seat is automatically vacant by operation of law. The majority is pushing for this, and the 31-member Privileges Committee, chaired by the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Wusu, submitted the report to the House this Monday. And per the committee's report, the members of the committee concluded that Mr. Ejapong and Mr. Quartey, that is Mr. Henry Quartey and Mr. Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, admitted having absented themselves for more than the 15 sitting thresholds. However, it said the explanations given by the 2 MPs for being absent were found reasonable. Just a quick point to add. For these 2 male MPs, and I'm intentionally using male here, male MPs, the minority, did not participate in voting on the matter. They said that they were not convinced by the explanations of health reasons given by the 2. But it was left with the majority side in Parliament, and they voted in that respect. But when it comes to Sarah Adwoa Safo, they are saying she simply didn't avail herself to the opportunities available, and so they are declaring her seat vacant. Quick thoughts?
Well, on the gender side of it, I think you have to see the medical evidence in respect to both gender groups to know whether those evidences were valid or not. I know in one case, if you have to bring people in ambulances to vote in Parliament, it's clear that there is a definite medical issue there. As to the conditions of the other 2, we are not sure. What I think is important in this matter is that we are looking at Parliament to see whether it will act independently and enforcing its own rules to assert the fact that it is actually separate from the executive. And whatever the executive may or may not want, it is able to enact its own rules. I think that is the critical issue at stake here. And everybody is watching to see whether it will do that and whether it will also do that fairly in all cases. So it's important that people get this right, because this comes at a critical time when, in the case of the national interest movement, we've argued for a clear separation of powers and also greater independence of Parliament to ensure that it is able to do its job independently. So we are watching to see whether this happens or not, and I think it is very important for the members of Parliament to ensure that the right thing is done as a demonstration that even in this weakened state, the Parliament is able to act in some matters quite independently from the executive.
All right, 2 quick stories to wrap in the Daily Graphic. The first one, I'll just take a swipe at it. The latest survey by the Ghana Integrity Public Services survey report reveals that people with higher education pay more bribes. Those who are better educated pay more bribes. But another issue I wanted to react to, E-levy yields 93.7 million Ghana cedis in 2 months. That's on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. And the government mobilized 93.7 million revenue from the E-levy in the first 2 months of implementation. The amount mobilized in May and June this year was about 93.59% lower than the 1.46 billion Ghana cedi target set in this year's budget. So now the figure has been, the projection has been reviewed from 6.96 billion to 611 million. I mean, we're basically losing what? 6.3 billion. We are shaving off 6.3 billion, and we're going to accrue only 611 million. How would you describe the E-levy on the back of this?
Well, I think 2 things. The first is that the figures given were projections.
Right.
And there were projections that were not based on any long-term plan of government. But
you mean proper planning? You mean proper planning didn't go into the projections? Because just as with our revenue, our GDP, we project and hope to get there.
Yes. So what I'm saying basically is that because these things are very short term, I wanted to make reference to the need for a long-term national development plan in segments. And then those segments will allow you clear mileposts within which you can make proper budgeting and projections. But if within every sector we are reacting to situations and making projections that have no reference to at least a medium-term expenditure framework and plan, then you're going to get those things off base quite significantly because you don't have other things as point of reference to check to see how it is going. For you to see, okay, within an error of this or that, I should be within this range. So when you make those kind of instantaneous projections based on what you hope to get and the need you have, in other words, it is the pressure of getting money that has forced us to do this, and therefore we need to get this much money. So let's assume that we will get this much money. Let's do this. So there's a disconnect there. You need to proceed based on a trend of what has been happening over a while to be able to make a good prediction. So be that as it may, let's put that aside. Yes, the shortfall is there. And also because maybe within that, people have found various ways of avoiding that payment. First of all, people feel that it is double and triple taxation. So they might as well, and their taxes are already going up. Cost of living is already going up. So they're going to look for ways of saving on their money. And if it's a transfer they need to do, maybe they'll find other ways of doing it, which doesn't involve losing part of that money. Because now, in this high cost of living, every single CD counts. And, people have got to that level where they are actually counting every single CD. So any way of saving money, in as much as, yes, we need to raise revenue, but if we can save that money by taking other measures, then people will do that. So I'm not entirely surprised that the estimations are not in line with what people thought they were going to get.
I'll look at 4 quick stories, and we have just about 3 minutes to address them. But let me start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and I'm going straight to the point. The first story on page 6, ex-leader Rajapaksa to return to Sri Lanka. You know about Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the Sri Lankan president, and how he was basically hounded out of his own country. Looking at the situation in that country, what would you say the lessons are for leaders, African leaders, and especially maybe to focus Ghanaian leaders on the back of what happened there? Sri Lanka still doesn't have an IMF program. It's still in dire economic straits. And then the second bit I want you to reflect on page 7 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Government not reinstating road tolls across the country. That's according to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. But of course, we know that they say new roads to be constructed with the PPP agreement or arrangement will be tolled, including the motorway, the Tema motorway extension. Your quick reflection on these 2 stories.
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that he's returning suggests that they want to carry on with their democracy in one shape or form.
He has resigned, so...
Yes, but of course, it's good for him to be in the country. It means rule of law is going to pertain, and there's not going to be a kangaroo court or anything like that. But that he'll be, whatever things he's accused of, he'll be tried fairly. But those are side issues. The main substantive issue that led to this, which African countries need to learn from, is that the cost of government is too big for our level of income. And that again goes back to conditions of service we serve, the accoutrements that go with running government, the paraphernalia that goes with it, and then also, the use of public positions in order to accrue and get wealth for individuals. So those are the things that have led to this. And I think other people need to sit up and learn that you can't keep scooping from the barrel forever and ever. One day you will get to the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
And when you get to the bottom of the barrel, you will get a strong social reaction because what is happening then will be clear to everybody. So we need to sit back and say, look, here's a case in point where they got to the bottom of the barrel. Where are the areas that we can cut out waste? Where are the areas where we can ensure that our expenditure is proportional to our income for the level, the state at which we are in as a nation? Some of the things we do, even rich countries don't do those things. So we need to be very, very mature about this.
Right.
And get down to brass tacks and cut where we need to cut and cut our coat according to our size.
There was also the issue about road tolls. I don't know whether you would want to.
Yes. Well, the information is confusing. First of all, it said that they will be reinstated. And then in the same paragraph, it is said that they have not been reinstated and they won't be reinstated.
Right.
So one is left wondering now, which is which? If you say all new roads, do you mean that new roads built going where they have never gone before, or that even old roads which have been rehabilitated are now new and you reinstate the tolls? So it's a bit ambiguous. I think we need to come down very clearly and stop this issue of trying to score political points, on serious issues.
Okay.
It's either on or it is not on. They're either going to be paid or they're not going to be paid. We know that we can't afford a system of having free road tolls. We need to collect that revenue. If you're collecting E-levy, why aren't you collecting road tolls?
Good point. Good point.
And then the other issue is, if indeed the congestion at the road tolls is the problem, most people now have phones, smartphones, etc. Can't you get a digitized system where there's a swipe at the exit, at the entry of the toll gate, which will save time, eliminate people, and ensure that that money you pay doesn't go to waste. It is credited immediately. So if you make it clear that from now on, if you're going to use a motorway, you need to load up your phone and swipe it at the point, then you're saving time.
So there are ways
and
of...
you're also making sure that that money goes direct to join E-levy.
Okay, there are ways of going around this. The Daily Statesman, the only story I'll look at, Akufo-Addo endorses plea bargaining law. What it basically means is a process in criminal justice. It is a process in criminal justice where the accused relinquishes the right to go to full trial in exchange for some other benefit. But the final bit I want you to reflect on, Doc, we have about 30 seconds. Business Finder, Ghana targets $16 billion from tree crops as 5-year strategic plan is launched. I know you're passionate about farming. I just wanted you to quickly react to that. What do you see to be the future of this? Ghana targeting $16 billion from tree crops as this 5-year strategic plan is launched.
Well, I think, first of all, the planting of tree crops is a good idea. I think that the way it has been done in terms of prioritizing income over prioritizing the stop of desertification maybe needs to be reversed, because if you're planting a lot of trees in already forested areas, and I think 3/4 of the trees have been planted in already forested areas, mainly Eastern region, Western region, and Central and Ashanti region, that is not where you are getting the advance of the desert. Where you need to plant crops that will have a buffer effect on the entire country is from Brong-Ahafo going upwards, because then you will check the advance of the desertification, and also you will create another microclimate that will even protect the tree zones in the southern area. Now, I know why they've chosen the easier path, because of all this cattle roaming around in the savanna areas, destroying the trees that they have planted. But there's a solution to that. You have to tag those animals, reduce their population relative to what the carrying capacity of the land is, and ensure that fodder crops are gathered at places where they can buy them.
Okay. Well, interesting point. Very interesting point on which you conclude the conversation, Doc. But thank you so much for joining the conversation, Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, who is with the National Interest Movement. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, this is where we sew it up on the news review. Up next, sports. Tuesday. Boy, how we good to see you again. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Of course, we get into our big stories, and we're going to be contemplating a number of matters. But right before I get into the matters we're discussing and the guests we have, JoyNews, in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and the Planned Cities Extension Project from Cities and Habitats will make home ownership easy peasy. This year's fair is under the theme Home Ownership, where you live matters. At the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, we've got you covered with all your needs from mortgages, personal loans, consumer financing, land acquisition, security, and much more. For inquiries, just call 0546 908 179 or 0540 110 389. The EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats, Rent to Own, and sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, where quality meets value. Virtual Security Africa, Complete Security Solutions, Superlock Technologies Limited, you deserve the best. DBS Industries Limited, we truly are your roof experts. Duraplast Limited, where Duraplast goes, water flows. And Gold Key Properties, building prestige since 1997. EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, where you live matters. Let's hear from World Vision, and it all has to do with the abuse of their logo and images. Now, the attention of World Vision has been drawn to a live television broadcast by a group of people operating under the names World Vision Fan Club and World Vision Foundation on Energy TV and AVTV satellite television stations since June the 28th, 2022. Now, a review of the video recordings of the programs indicates that these groups are using the logo and some images of World Vision with a view to getting interested people to register with various amounts of money in return for corresponding financial support. World Vision is concerned that its logo and images are being used by these so-called World Vision Fan Club and World Vision Foundation to collect money from the unsuspecting public. World Vision therefore dissociates itself from the so-called World Vision Fan Club and World Vision Foundation and their operations, and wishes to caution the general public as such. We call on the members of the World Vision Fan Club and World Vision Foundation to desist from using the logo, images, and any other material for their activities forthwith. World Vision is a Christian relief and development and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision has been working in all regions of Ghana for the past 42 years. For more information on World Vision Ghana, just visit their website. Well, on that note, let's get into the crucial issues, germane issues we're going to be discussing this morning on the show as we host the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suini, and the Member of Parliament for Sekondi, Andrew Ejapa Mercer, also Deputy Minister of Energy. But three of the crucial matters we're going to be contemplating this morning. Adwoa Safo and the declaration of a seat as vacant. What is the implication of this going to be? The plenary will be sitting to deliberate on that matter. There also is the thorny issue of going to the IMF and what the promises have been, what the implications will be, what we can expect from a program from the International Monetary Fund. We'll also be contemplating the bit about Parliament in that latest Afrobarometer report being the third most corrupt public institution. I already see the members of Parliament in the studio shaking their heads. But what is reality? What is fact? What is fiction? We'll be getting into these matters with our guests. Gentlemen, thank you for joining.
Always a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Andrew. Good morning to you, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning. That's a very suspicious laughter.
No, you have this look on your face. You usually have that on your face when you're about to be a little mischievous. So it got me laughing. Anyway, let's start the conversation with maybe some not too hard talk. I want us to get into some other matters. The cathedral. I'm going to start from there for good reason. The National Cathedral, we've heard Mr. President talk about it in recent times, and he says, we're going full steam ahead with this, and it's not going to stall. We want religious groupings to by and large, support it. I know you have interacted with me in the past and said you are in full support of the program. In fact, you mentioned that Akufo-Addo is not going to will the cathedral to his family when he dies, when he passes on. I mean, God forbid, not, but eventually when that happens. And that it's a national asset and all of that. You also said that maybe even the state should bear the full cost of it. We're looking at $547 million and counting. How much are we going to the IMF for? 1.5 billion and all of that. With all these dynamics, do you still stick to your guns? Especially as Mr. President seems to be moving away from your approach. He says it should be funded to a large extent by religious groupings, not the state.
Well, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers and to my colleague and your good self. Obviously, it's the president who makes the decisions, not me. So in these conversations, my views really do not matter. Okay, so it cannot be the case that the president is moving away from my position, because my position.
Oh no, I didn't hint at that.
Yeah, I mean, look, and yes, the reference to His Excellency the President not being in the position to will the National Cathedral, if you like, to his children when he passes, was in response to a suggestion. Indeed, I recall that on that day, I was on the show with Lansah. That this is a private...
Which is why I bring it up, because it's the two of you again.
This is some private enterprise that has been commenced by His Excellency the President. And so he
is there anyone
should
who has
be saddled. But of course, otherwise, then
what
are we talking about?
Is saying that, yes, it may be a public thing, but just this morning, I don't know whether you followed, I was interacting with Dr. Abu Sakara Foster of the international something movement, I've just forgotten. But he says, the national movement, he says he is not for this. It doesn't make any sense to him, and especially in light of what economic woes we are facing, it cannot be that we'll be pumping so much money into an exercise like that. Of course, we've heard the president also say that there's no good time to build a cathedral, and that at any point in time people would complain, but he's going full steam ahead.
Yes, and so really, what was the challenge? The project already started. It started.
Will that project?
It started in 2017. At the time, there was objection from some segment of the Ghanaian population, and by all means, that's, as far as I'm concerned, every project that government does, to a very large extent, which the Jubilee House project comes to mind. We had all sorts of comments. But tell me whether it was a good decision that was taken by President Kufuor at the time to build it, in spite of the objection from some segment of the Ghanaian population, or not. Because we all see the value of the asset today. Same with the National Cathedral. People will object. Others will support, including myself. I support it fully. Because I've traveled, by the grace of God, across the world, and I've seen the value that some of these assets that states own, okay, can yield benefits for the countries. We live in a country where even state functions, and you have the screen right behind you, are held on car parks. That's Ghana. That's what we should have.
Are you insinuating there's no other place we can have?
No, so if we had alternatives...
The conference center is a place where we've done a lot of these, the National Theatre, among others.
If we had alternatives, why do we hold important state functions on the car park of the State House? Why? Now I want to know. Yet we have issues.
Well, it's not for a lack of alternatives.
And in any event, His Excellency the President has indicated that, look, he doesn't believe that the state should bear the full cost of the National Cathedral. I hold the contrary view, and I expressed that view previously. But yes, I don't take the decision. It's the president who takes the decision. And he says that, look, the Christian community, the government has provided some seed money, it's provided the land, relocated judges, some preparatory work has taken place. We should support in helping to put up the facility. And that's a call that I endorse wholeheartedly. And like I indicated, I've made contributions in the past towards the building of the National Cathedral. I will continue to do so until it is completed. And I'll urge spirited Ghanaians, who hold the same view, to all assist in putting our money where our mouth is by contributing towards the building of the National
Cathedral. It doesn't
Cathedral.
appear the contributions have poured in, though. The last time I was looking at, when the board, the National Cathedral Board, there were more invitations for people to fast and contribute the 100 Ghana cedis, is it per month, towards the project and all of that. It doesn't appear that is going as planned, but who knows what will happen tomorrow. Maybe on the back of the economic crunch, people are finding it difficult to fork money out of their pockets. But Al-Hassan, your quick take on this a bit. Of course, it's not a substantive issue, but I'm going to run some of these by both of you just to pick and tease out your thoughts.
I think that, good morning to you, good morning to Bobo, good morning to our listeners. I think that...
Did you just call him Bobo?
Bobo, yeah, that's...
For a moment, I thought I had it. Okay, so aliases are coming here now.
Yeah.
Please, are you okay with the Bobo?
Ben
so that
Ben is pretending as if he's never heard my nickname before.
No, I actually haven't.
Oh, really?
I haven't, honestly.
I see.
Well, so I think that the president and his government have decided for some time now not to give a toss about what the people of this country think. They believe that they know what is best for us.
Well, that's why we voted them into power, isn't it? I mean, we give them power because they are supposed to decide on our behalf.
Yeah, I agree. To some extent, you can justify it that way. But if you understand how democracy works, you know that when the people vote for you, it
the acolytes of UNTUB is telling us today that somebody doesn't give a toss about what Ghanaians say.
It does not
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Are you controlling the show, or this is how we want us to go?
The acolytes of UNTUB
are you going to control this how you want us to go? I can do it very well, but thank you. Yeah, so I'm saying that clearly, from all indications, they have decided that they know what is best for us, and our views, our thoughts, and our frustrations don't matter. They will do whatever they think is best for us. Be it free education, whether it requires a review or not, whether our children are starving in school or not, whether teachers don't have syllables, whether even the WAEC exams or BEC exams are threatened or not. They will do it the way they...
We've been told that the BEC isn't under any threat, that WAEC has everything.
We've been told so many things that have been proven to be wrong.
The SHS, that is where some...
We have been told so many things. We've been told so many things that have been proven to be wrong. So that's really neither here nor there. The point I'm making is that they have decided that no matter how we feel about education, about health, infrastructure and services, about, the management of the economy, about even the team that he is working with, whether they are present or absent, and taking salary, he's decided that he knows what is best. Yeah, I'm just talking, and not only Sarah Adwoa Safo. Some people think he must do a reshuffle. And that's why I say whether they are present or absent. He's decided he's
That reminds me of a tweet by Gabi Otridako, who said, it appears some people just want a reshuffle as though that would solve the COVID-19 situation, resolve the Russo-Ukrainian war and its impact and all of that. A reshuffle won't do that, would it? So explain to us, why exactly do some of you want a reshuffle? What necessarily will it do? Is it, you are not saying you want a cut down of ministers. You say you want a reshuffle. What would that do?
Well, Benjamin, that's not the topic we are discussing.
No, you brought it up. I just wanted.
It doesn't mean I want to discuss it. It doesn't mean that's what you want us to discuss. I just brought it up as an example of how the president and his government don't seem to care about the concerns of the average Ghanaian.
Right.
But point has to be made, because you have asked, that if you understand governance, some of the best governance experts would tell you that the best you can do for your government as a leader is never to allow your appointees to get comfortable in their positions.
And
never.
right now you feel the ministers have become comfortable.
It is the best advice that they will give any leader. Don't allow the people you work with to get comfortable in their positions, because they will abuse it, because they will become, tin gods. And that's what the president is doing.
Do you see that happening?
But that's not what I want us to discuss. I said that's not what I want us to discuss. The point I am seeking to make, and I want to make forcefully, is that the president's attitude towards the construction of this national cathedral, followed by the headlines that we saw yesterday, the forceful defense that he put up, is just in line with the attitude of his government. The attitude being that they know what is best for us. All of a sudden, the people of Ghana do not know anything. No matter how we feel, no matter how we think about how he is governing, he is not going to give a toss. He will do what he thinks is best for us, whether we like it or not. Look, it is quite ironic that this was a group of people who criticized the late president, whose 10th anniversary we are just celebrating this week, for attempting to turn the castle into a prayer camp. I mean, what did the president at the time do? He had a small quarters in between his living quarters and the office, where he held prayers with church leaders. And again, they said he was giving so much attention to church leaders and receiving them at the castle, and that he was turning the presidency at the time, the castle, into a prayer camp. And that what Ghana needs is more than just prayers. And that, why is he focused on prayers? He was not building a cathedral. He was just praying. He was just prioritizing the role of God in our life, even as he eliminated schools and the trees.
But so is Akufo-Addo. He maybe to a more grandiose extent.
I'm saying he criticized that. He said that even that prayer, that was not costing the state any money, shouldn't have been the president's focus. That was the argument. That even the prayer and the tolerance of religious leaders, giving them time to come and visit him, was wasting the taxpayers' money, even though it didn't cost us anything.
Right.
So to have him today, the same group of people, turn around and tell us that it is not even prayer that is more important. That the priority of priorities for this nation now is expending more than 200 million Ghana cedis, as we have seen, relocating judges and
you're referring to the seed money.
Yes. As we have seen expended so far. That doesn't include the cost of the townhouses that we pull down that used to house judges. It doesn't include the cost. Yes, compensations that are paid to individuals there. It doesn't include the relocation of the passport office, which I understand costs a little above 30,000.
It doesn't include how much we're paying for the judges where they are now.
Now they tell us that the priority of priorities is not just prayer anymore. Prayer that they criticize, it is now the construction of this cathedral.
Interesting points you make.
Even if our children don't get fed, even if NAPCO that they touted as the solution to unemployment has to be cancelled.
It ends on
after they have not paid their arrears for several months. Even the teacher trainees that they continue to beat their chest for maintaining allowance for them have not been paid for 7 months. They don't care. The priority of priorities is no longer about prayer that they criticize. It's now about building that cathedral.
I want us to talk about corruption. But first, I know Andrew has been scripting. It's like, I don't want to say this because I have a lot of doctor friends, but I can't see a thing he's scribbling. So I'll just ask him to break it down.
Benjamin, maybe I didn't even respond to, because he's going to respond. Let me just respond to some of the things that he made. So that, yes, just quick one. I mean, he questions why we hold state functions at the forecourt of State House.
Right.
You know why? The banquet hall requires renovation.
Right.
It won't cost us the amount of money it will cost us to put up the cathedral. Why are we not renovating it? In fact, Parliament has approved huge sums of money. I can't remember the exact amount. I was looking for it when you asked that we begin the conversation.
Right.
for the reconstruction of the Accra International Conference Center. Isn't that a worthy investment if we want conference centers?
Right.
Because we already have one. And so if we are reconstructing it or even refurbishing it, I understand we are going to pull it down and reconstruct it. No matter the misgivings I may have with it, I still think that it is more important. Yes, right. It is a better option to the National Cathedral.
Right.
So why are we spending money in building a conference center, and yet we are using the existence of a conference center at the National Cathedral as justification for putting up a national
part of the justification?
Part of the justification. One of the justifications.
Yes. Quickly on this, I'll give you a minute and a half so we can move on to.
You see, the accusation that His Excellency the President doesn't care about the sentiments of Ghanaians.
Does he?
Absolutely. And why not?
A lot of people I interact with say, it appears nowadays you say anything and it's just Yang Konkwa. So it doesn't appear he's actually listening.
I agree with you that whatever decision that you take in leadership, you get opposition. And so if the expectation is that you have to respond positively to every opposition, no decision will ever be taken. Okay? And obviously, others support the National Cathedral. And so, as a leader, you weigh what the benefits are, what the pros are, what the cons are, and take a decision whichever way, because no matter the outcome of the decision that you take,
you
will still have people opposing it. So that's just it. So let not that process be seen as not being sensitive or not caring for the sentiments of people.
But to be
especially
fair,
when it comes
if you ask
from the likes of the NDC.
Andrew, if you ask
because you see, no, please, if you permit me. Please,
I'm just
with all due respect. No, wait.
If you speak to 10 people,
please.
Every 10
I will deal with it.
Let me 7, 8, 9 will tell you they are against the National Cathedral.
I'm saying especially when it comes from the NDC. Because they've been in government. It's not like they are just coming from Mars. They've governed this country.
Right.
And we had the kinds of things that they said to us when matters of this nature came up. Yet they turn around.
What did we say?
You said Ethiopia.
That's a lie.
Mr. Muhammad didn't say Ethiopia.
Never. Show it. Never.
You see, look.
Never did he say
you can check it and give us the
prove it. Not a problem at all.
This is a propaganda you have run with for a very long time.
Thankfully,
let him make his point. Later on, we'll give him the opportunity to check.
So we'll deal with it. But every Ghanaian listening to us this morning who lived in this country
had your propaganda, but not what John Mahama said.
And 2016.
Had your propaganda.
Those exact
your lies.
Of course, you live or belong to the Short Memory Association.
You didn't want him to heckle.
I don't.
So allow him to.
Okay. And I remember exactly what it is that transpired when your government was in power. But like I said to you 2 days ago, we have to make progress.
Right.
That's not what Ghanaians want to necessarily hear. But it's important that when we're having these conversations, we put the issues in their proper context. So we all know where we're coming from and where it is that we are going. Okay? So to suggest that by reason of the fact that we have challenges in some sectors of the economy, nothing else should move, I disagree.
Right.
Okay? And I think that...
What is your take on, what's the name of the place you mentioned? The banquet hall.
The banquet hall.
The banquet hall. What's your take on that? That's a very viable alternative, don't you agree?
But to what extent can banquet hall host all state functions?
You are building a conference center.
You're renovating it.
No.
You could actually even pull it down and do something
else.
Something else.
Let us have the conversation. I don't have a problem.
Look at the plan from Nkrumah on Job 600. Look at what we've done with it.
I mean, it's not mutually exclusive. I don't have a difficulty. And this government is building roads, is building schools, is building airports, is building hospitals across the country.
Okay, so let's wrap on this in 1 minute.
But these are matters of fact. You see, unless of course,
is it
unless of course that you sit in Parliament and all the laws that you are approving, you don't actually read the documents.
Oh goodness!
Because every single loan that government contracts, you and I sit in Parliament and approve it. It has a purpose, and so unless you are suggesting that either the purpose has been derailed or that it's been diverted, which is not the case, then you cannot sit here and tell me that government is not doing anything. Because you approve all the loans that government has contracted for all the projects that are going on across the country. We sat in Parliament and approved the budget for Agenda 111. Okay? Of course, it's a multi-year funding arrangement that has been put in place. Only last week, I saw pictures of, Honorable Damboche's district, okay, where the infrastructure is coming up. If Young Kwanta Regional Hospital that you and I approved, the contractors are mobilized on site, they are working. The Dwa Carriage Road between Adiembra Road between Sekendi and PTC, Parkground Runabout, the contractors are on site clearing the road and working. The PTC interchange is actually ongoing. The Tamale interchange where you reside has been completed and has been commissioned. These are all projects that government is doing. Yet we sit and deny that government is not doing anything. But who will get there at the appropriate time?
Okay.
When we will all see. In your time, you printed a book.
Your response to this is clear. Thank you for establishing that.
Let's talk.
Unfortunately, if we keep going back and forth,
he started. I came in. So let me just take a minute.
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Yes.
It's done.
Let's go.
That's just by the way. But you see, let's settle this once and for all. Nowhere can anybody show that President Mahama stood and uttered the word Yentiobia.
Thank you.
This has been the propaganda that the MPP has run with when he was president, since he handed over, and yet they are unable
I'll leave it to Andre Japapa
anywhere that he stood
to quote exactly where the former president said that.
It is
Let's
an
talk
MPP
about
propaganda.
corruption. And it's a matter that we're all very concerned about as a people. Corruption. According to some of the latest reports, we're losing about 5 billion Ghana cedis. The Auditor General's report in the past will tell us over 6 years we lost about 12 billion Ghana cedis. Some reports will tell you we bleed about 3 billion Ghana cedis every year in Ghana. And the latest Afrobarometer report, sampling some 2,400 Ghanaians from all the regions of Ghana with 50% to 50% male-female ratio, poses the question, who is corrupt in Ghana 2022, of course, earlier this year, around April. And the respondents were asked the question, how many of the following people do you think are involved in corruption, or haven't you heard enough about them to say? It is interesting because I've heard some politicians talk about the fact that, well, the media itself, as the fourth estate, though unofficial, has some aroma of corruption. It's left with them to prove, right? But from the bottom, NGOs are the least corrupt, with 22% saying most or all of them are corrupt, and 59% saying only some are corrupt. Next to that, so faring, I don't know whether to call it excellently well, but the private media, of which we are part. 27% saying most or all are corrupt. 65% saying some are corrupt. Then it's followed by the public media with actually the same percentages. But when you go to the top, the big boys, if you like, those who run the system, kitty kitty and kata kata, you have the Ghana Police Service, and I'll be singling out the Ghana Police Service separately. 65% say most or all of them are corrupt. 31% say some of them are corrupt. Of course, we can link this to an earlier report which was not based on perception, which was put forth by Shraj, commissioned by Shraj, work undertaken by the Ghana Statistical Service, funding from the UNODC. In second position, the Office of the Presidency, 55% think most or all the officials are corrupt. 40% think some are corrupt. And then in third position, right before the judges and magistrates, members of Parliament. We have two of them in the studio. 54% think most or all of them are corrupt. And 42% think some of them are corrupt. Gentlemen, I have a simple question for you. Before I even take your reaction to this survey, Al-Hassan, how corrupt really is Parliament?
It's as corrupt as the nation is.
Interesting answer.
And its people are. It's as corrupt as the nation and its people are. Because it's not made of people who are from space. whether parliamentary service or members of parliament, they come from amongst us. And so they reflect the society that they come from.
Right.
Yes, there may be some amongst the workers or among parliamentarians who will have, you know, the determination to do right, but it will not matter, would it? If the perception generally is that everyone associated with it is corrupt. And sometimes, like I said, it is about our society. It's about who we are, and it's about the things we celebrate.
So we are intrinsically corrupt as a society, and that is reflective of our institutions, including members of parliament.
That is what I believe. So even if as a member of parliament you try to expose corruption and you try to fight it, and you try to, you know, hold people to account, you are seen as troublesome.
I pose
you are
this
seen,
question.
You are seen as disrespectful of the institution. You are seen as attempting to, you know, undermine the authority. You are seen as a rabble-rouser, you know, someone who plays to the gallery.
Maybe an odd personality?
Fantastic.
An eccentric.
Yeah. So my simple question to your answer is that Parliament is as corrupt as Ghana is and as the people of Ghana are, because it is made up of Ghanaians.
I remember this question posed to former President Mahama by Peter Okwoche of the BBC about whether he had ever dabbled in corruption, and the answer he gave. So when, just some 2 years ago, I think in September 2020, shortly before I joined this group, when I had the opportunity to interview the former president ahead of the elections, I put that question to him, that, look, this was the answer you gave the first time. I'm giving you a second opportunity, second bite. Are you corrupt? He had his own, you know, answer to that, more forthright compared to the first one. I'll put that same question to you. Are you corrupt as a member of parliament?
I'm not corrupt, first of all. I am not corrupt. I have, in fact, I belong to APNAC, Association of MPs that are against corruption. But I've had my share of being ridiculed, being disrespected and disregarded because I have tried to stand up against corruption.
By whom? By
so many people. I mean, people in society.
Sometimes your own
people in
members
society.
of your own
General,
caucus?
many people in society. Yes, you get encouragement from some people to stay focused, but you get dismissed as just being a troublemaker, and you get disregarded.
Even within your own caucus?
I'm talking about society. So don't limit it to my caucus. Even in media, you have people who just think that this is a troublemaker who just wants to, you know, sometimes they make the mistake. In fact, I have met colleagues in the media who sometimes would think that you want attention because you are raising certain issues. And I'm like, for my adult life, I have been on media, you know, sometimes 4 hours, 6 hours a day. What attention again will I be seeking if my intention is not to raise the germane issues? But you see, some of these things, I love research. I love research. I love data. And when I was reading the Afrobarometer report, and I read the Shraj one, I've also read one done by Musa Dankwa.
Yes.
Organization. All on corruption.
Global Info Analytics.
Yes, Global Info Analytics.
Right.
All of a sudden, it came to me that why are we not doing surveys on people's willingness to bribe and corrupt a system? Instead of asking if you think the institution is corrupt, can we design...
I think the Shraj one...
The Shraj one went that way.
In a way.
The Shraj one was asking people about people's experiences with the institutions.
Right.
You know, so it was not asking about their willingness. What is your willingness? I was thinking, can we frame questions that will bring about the willingness of people to corrupt the institutions?
That feeds into what, you know, a police officer, I think one DCOP was saying in response to the latest Afrobarometer report, that you put us at pole position, I mean, in first position, but How about the people who are also willing to corrupt us or bribe us?
Because
so you're playing into that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I disagree in parts with the police response. I mean, I've seen the IGP's response, and I agree with some and I disagree with some. So I'm not speaking directly in relation to what the police officer is saying. I'm talking about people's willingness to pay a bribe, people's willingness to get the rules to bend in their favor. People, expectation.
People will tell you that sometimes it's not about our willingness. It's the system. If you try to, like you're saying, if you try to do the right thing.
That's why I disagree.
When you try to do the right thing, the system will frustrate you. So sometimes you either back away or...
I just gave you my own experience. I just shared my own experience. So you are preaching to the converted.
The choir,
I have experienced it, But I'm saying that it does not matter. That's why, again, I disagree with the police officer who says, we are there and then people are giving us.
So to conclude,
I'm saying that there's a need for us to go into the mindset of the Ghanaian. And this is because of even our traditional and cultural settings, reflected in our sayings.
People say when you go to the chief, you don't go empty-handed.
Yes,
and all of that.
You go to the chief, you don't go empty-handed. Something help me with that. These are sayings we have accepted. Now, how do they reflect in the way we
So quickly, how do we do it? I've been to countries where to stamp out corruption. If you follow the Lee Kuan Yew, situation and corruption in Singapore and how they stamped it out. There's the educational element, there's the element of ruthlessness in dealing with people who engage in bribery and corruption and all of that. How do we go about it in some 30 seconds? How do we go?
Leadership is key.
Leadership.
First of all, leadership is key. We, again, permit me to refer to President Atta Mills. I mean, when he passed, everyone was unanimous when it came to his integrity.
Right.
And that is why Chachu Chikate's lecture at his 10th anniversary for me is, one that we must all try to inculcate in our way of life.
Do you feel that integrity has been lost with the current leadership?
Completely.
Okay, thank you.
Integrity is key.
Thank you.
When it comes to fighting corruption.
Andrew, I know you have a lot to say, but let me ask you first. Are you corrupt? Have you ever been corrupt?
No.
Have you ever been corrupt?
No.
Never?
Never.
As a member of parliament? Never?
No, not even as a human being. As response to Peter.
That's an interesting one. Okay, right.
See,
your quick thoughts on this.
I always say to my colleagues, right, that the kinds of viciousness that we do our politics, the kinds of false accusations that we level against each other.
I'm glad you say each other.
Of course.
This is a game that has been played back and forth.
It's what is going to consume us.
He just started with one.
Which one?
Even though it was subtle.
Oh, the one about as a human being. Yes.
Yeah, so yet
I agree that was a subtle.
Now he's going to preach.
It was Mr. Mohammed's response.
Yet he's going to preach. Yet he's going to preach. Preach on. That's hypocrisy.
But I admit that, you see,
is that something you would like to you would like to withdraw? Especially on the back of what he said.
No, not a problem. I mean, it was in jest. But if he thinks that it's offensive.
No. I mean,
not a problem.
I'm just drawing attention to the irony.
We ought to re-examine how we do our politics in this country. Of course, there are people who are corrupt.
Right.
There are transactions that are laced with corruption. There's no doubt. Because the Auditor General's report on a year-by-year basis clearly shows us all that some transactions are laced with corruption. He cites his own example. You want me to cite mine?
Go ahead.
You recall PDS. You recall? And the kinds of things that were said against my person. Because in 2014, acting as a lawyer, incorporate a company, TG Energy Solutions, the client says, act as lawyer, secretary for me, which is typical. Goes to do a transaction by forming some JV with some other people to set up PDS. Then I go into Parliament in 2017.
And they will tell you about conflict of interest and all of that. Don't you agree? Maybe at some point you should.
I disagree entirely. Because if you drill down, then we'll see. Fast forward, Ejapa Royalties, company set up by the government of Ghana.
Unfortunately, your name.
Because
your name.
My name is Ejapa. Ejapa Mesa. Again. To what end?
But it's the politics we've come to accept.
Precisely the point.
I've seen recent quotes,
And
for
so-
example, from
and
the
so-
past from
and so
our
all
communications minister that I can't
Ben,
put here because unprintable.
No,
We've done all these
hold
things
on,
in the past.
hold
So, I mean.
So all that one has to do is to sit in the comfort of their homes, put stuff together like they've done. Both of us have done it. And put it out there. And then it fits the perception.
Right.
But as to whether they are factual or not, nobody bothers about it.
The Shraj report is not based on perception.
See,
it is as factual as we've ever had it in the Fourth Republic. And that is why I love that report, because it goes beyond perception. In the past, we've said, the CPI, Corruption Perception Index, it's perception. Oh, not joke. This one is not perception. How do you respond?
So, well, maybe it's a good start. So that we can begin to relate. Because, why? How many citizens interact with Parliament and members of Parliament and pay them bribes? Was Parliament in the Shraj report, or members of Parliament in the Shraj or Ghana Statistical Service report?
You were there in terms of public officials. There was representation.
And the public officials includes...
Yes, I can check it out for you, but you were ably represented.
Members of Parliament.
Yes.
Afrobarometer
part
is the one
of...
that lists
It's the Afrobarometer.
I'm saying that in terms of public officials, when you look at the circles, you are represented in there. But I'll check out some of the
and the people who were surveyed said that they had actually had direct engagement with members of Parliament and paid them bribes.
We can get into
to
some
do what? For what benefit?
Maybe you would tell me. I wouldn't know.
I cannot, under any circumstances, foresee what would arise that would make me take a bribe from anybody as member of Parliament. To do what? To pass a law?
But that's not the only thing you do.
But that's exactly
somehow you are very involved in some contracts and agreements, and that sometimes even governing, especially in the situation we find ourselves where Parliament is pretty split down the middle. Maybe government wants to get the other side to agree on certain things, and Palms agrees, and we hear
there's
so
a lot
many
of
things.
speculation. That
so at least, it feeds
money
into the perception. We've even heard that some people wear the jalabia because it's easy to
appointments
put money
committee.
in
They've got to give them money. Finance committee. Yeah, of course. Those are the kinds of things that feeds into the kind of report that you get from the Afrobarometer survey. I've not paid attention.
Do you have anything? Do you have anything against these surveys? Because, like I mentioned, the Ghana Police Service has raised its own.
I think we should go beyond mere perception.
Okay.
Okay, and it would, of course, we are all in leadership, and so we ought to begin to evaluate, reassess the kinds of subject matter that we use for our politicking, and to clearly determine that, look, merely accusing without necessarily proffering fact, evidence, and following through to ensure that some conclusions are arrived at.
Right.
May not be the way that we should carry on.
So let me ask you briefly.
That could help in
very briefly to end the
our
conversation on corruption. He has proffered the way forward. What is your way forward?
But I guess that in my last statement, I indicated that we all ought to begin to reassess. Of course.
I mean, if you make it so wide, then probably the problem will never be,
I do not immediately have any
leadership and integrity. So how do we address this?
So he is in a leadership position. He's a member of Parliament.
He's not the CEO of this country. And I can point to you, for example,
I'm coming.
The NDA situation with 10 million, and how some people have taken on the presidency and all of that, about his deafening silence. I mean,
deafening silence on what?
On the NDA matter.
What NDA matter?
That contract where, you know, someone's signature was forged and $10 million Ghana cedis and all of that. In fact, Martin Kpebu took on...
That's the matter that the special prosecutor is investigating.
Yes, very recently.
And that is not the right way to go for established institutions of state to conduct an investigation to then arrive.
It took quite a long time, didn't it?
Is it not being investigated?
It took quite a long time, didn't it? For an administration that is expressing the sentiment and Akufo's zero tolerance for corruption.
When did this matter arise? Because I heard about it only last week.
It's been around for weeks.
How many weeks? If you know. No, but tell me, because I don't know.
Per my
I only heard about it only about a week or so ago. And so, if the matter is under investigation and you say there's deafening silence, you recall the cash for seat, so-called,
right,
where Muntaka, the minority chief whip, made some accusations against the trade minister.
Right.
That the president issued a query for him to respond. You recall the response that greeted that action from the presidency. You recall?
What was the response?
Was accused of all sorts of things that what you call the clearing officer or stuff like that. So if institutions of state are conducting investigations, you say the president should say what? You shouldn't allow them to do their work. You should not.
So just a bit of clarity. My team has just confirmed to me which what I was thinking was true. That the NDA matter, like I mentioned, 3 weeks to a month, is actually been clarified. It goes back about a month ago.
And it's been investigated. And that's not enough.
It's even over a month. I mean, it's been, the NDA has been engulfed in corruption.
No, let's talk about coming into the public space. People may have known about, but coming into the public space.
Even the public space. I remember even during vetting of the minister now for fisheries. After her vetting, I remember I held a press conference under the authority of the minority leader just after her vetting, where we displayed some of these, cooked documents and how contracts were shared using MPP letterheads at the NDA. It's been ongoing for some time.
So with all of these, I just a final bit. Just give me a yes or no. In fact, a rating. I interacted yesterday with Dr. Kabiru Mahama of the Office of the Vice President. I asked him a question. I'll ask you same. If you had to rate your administration, this government, on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the fight against corruption, where would you put it?
Where 1 is and 10 is?
1 is least, 10 is highest.
7.
7 out of 10?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Because you see, look.
You would rank
in fact,
government's fight against corruption 7 over 10?
In fact, 8.
In fact, 8?
Yes.
So 8 over 10?
Because you see,
goodness,
for me, it's the institutions and how you strengthen them. In fact, you recall the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelovo.
Right, Daniel Yao Domelovo, right.
He himself, his own confession, with respect to the resources that had been given to the audit service by this administration. Shraj, Office of the Special Prosecutor, and I was part of the formulation of the Special Prosecutors Act, okay? Because at the time I was on the Constitutional Legal, in fact I'm still on the Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. That institution, when it is firmly set up and established and begins to assert itself, it's clearly going to impact the level of the corruption that we see and complain about today. And so to that extent, no doubt at all. And like I said...
Okay. I mean, I wanted this to be brief. So
several accusations, several concoctions including PDS.
Can I?
Not anything
that
that
will
you,
make
you
reference
didn't do to their side. So I guess, I guess the back and forth.
Go back to the detail.
When I talk about
let Ghanaians know what it is that transpired. And tell me what that
when I talk about leadership, it's important for us to understand the example I use, and the example being Professor Mills. Now, when you have a president who also won an election on the basis of accusing, the predecessor with corruption and actually making a pledge that he will not steal the people's money, which was inferred to mean that the sitting president
is he stealing the people's money?
Wait, and then he didn't stop there. He said, "I'll not steal your money, and my wife and family will not be engaged in my government." I'm talking about leadership and integrity. And then, based on those, rhetorics, people give you power. And we see your family all over.
Okay, so point.
Doing everything. Please. Just check the time. Be fair with the timing.
I gave you 20 seconds. You've done more than that. Just
look, listen. So I'm saying that clearly, there are reasons why the special prosecutor who resigned will call you a mother serpent of corruption. There's a reason why the celebrated lawyer Martin Kwebu will think that you are the leader of the criminal syndicate at the presidency, especially with the examples of the NDA and others. Now, when my brother talks about institutions, it's important that we interrogate this institution.
So you say these things. Where is your evidence?
Which evidence?
Where is your evidence to call the president, a leader of any syndicate?
I said there are reasons that abound, and perhaps those reasons are the reason why the OSP who resigned will call him a criminal syndicate.
Let me just add this
but the
point.
institutions, yes.
Let me just add this point very quickly. Yesterday, in my interaction with Dr. Mahama, he made mention, when I asked him whether the president was going to stick to the ANAS principle, he said that, well, the ANAS principle has problems, including maybe not being able to put people before court and actually get them through certain processes because of entrapment and all of that. So suggesting basically that the presidency is no longer, so to speak, using...
I'm surprised you still had hope that they will adopt that principle. But you see,
we have
the institutions, let me just give you 3 or 4 institutions. Look, Benjamin, until now...
2 issues
yes,
to wrap with.
no, I'm just going to list the institutions. Right. Until now, I would have bet my last penny that there is no government that can remove an auditor general. Until this government. I would have bet my last penny that there's no government that can remove an electoral commissioner. I would have bet my last penny that there's no government that can remove a Bank of Ghana governor. I would have bet my last penny that these institutions, that the OSP, would have stayed in office for life.
Thank you.
Until now. But we all know the reasons why all these people have been removed from office.
Please indulge me. I don't want to...
And yet you talk about the institutions. When you have bastardized the institutions with the leadership that you have put.
The same issues that I raised.
Yes, look, and I get the point.
These needless accusations.
I'm saying when you remove these institutions that were insulated.
We don't have to belabor the point. I think
leaders of these institutions that were insulated.
Let's quickly words that he likes.
Right.
But I read.
But it's significant.
No, hold on.
It's
please.
significant.
I read.
If a special prosecutor refers to his appointment
because he's
as a mother serpent of corruption.
Because
put yourself in the other shoes. If it were, let's say, former President Mahama or John Evans Atta Mills, how would you have reacted?
Please, look, I've read the document based on which he made.
Okay, thank you. Let's not belabor that point.
No basis. That comment.
Let's talk Adwoa Safo.
That's your.
Of course, because look,
and it's not a surprising thought. It's not a surprising thought because it is expected that you will defend your administration.
If you suggest to me,
let's talk
that a deputy minister has no authority,
right,
to sign contracts on behalf of the state,
right,
then I question the basis of your own conclusions.
Are you questioning?
Because the conclusion
is questioning, for example, why Sarah Adwoa Safo for 28 sittings has not showed up in Parliament? She still, as far as we know, is holding her ministerial position. Of course, we have the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abnadapa, acting in her stead and all of that. And now things have come to a head. It's going to go before the plenary for a decision to be arrived at. On the votes concerning Henry Quartey, Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central, Kennedy Ohene Ejapon, Member of Parliament for Asin Central, The minority walked out. The majority, side voted on them, accepting the explanations when it comes to ill health. But when it comes to Sarah Adwoa Safo, people still feel she's getting a raw deal, while the first deputy speaker has been saying that, Jose Usu has been saying, look, she simply did not make herself available. Now it's going to the plenary. When you look at just your summary thoughts on how the situation has been dealt with. I know she's a friend of yours, so your quick thoughts on that before I come to Al-Hassan.
So Adwoa is not only my friend, she's my mate from law school. We finished.
I think you mentioned that.
We were called to the bar the same day. And so I haven't seen the report of the committee. And I used to be a member of the committee until it was reconstituted. And so at a certain point where the initial invitation was extended to her following the referral by Mr. Speaker, I was on the committee. But at the point where decisions were, in fact, the actual merits of Kenny Japon and Henry Korte, I wasn't a member of the committee at the time, so I didn't participate in the proceedings. And so I cannot speak to the detail. But we've all
a 31-member committee, right?
We've all had snippets here and there regarding what it is that the committee has recommended. Indeed, if you look at the provisions of the Constitution, I believe Article 97(1)(d), you would see clearly that the committee itself, and or that Parliament itself, hasn't got power to make a determination.
Right. And that point has been made.
Because what the Constitution provides is that if a member absents him or herself for more than 15 days without permission, then that member has to provide reasonable explanation to the committee why he or she absented himself. For purpose of this, let me just use him, to represent both sexes. And so I really was worried when several attempts were made to reach her without success.
Right.
Because I was hoping that, having been offered the opportunity by the Constitution to avail herself to provide an explanation,
she would make herself available.
She would have made herself available to take advantage of.
So for the sake of time constraints,
because really,
so what do you see to be the way forward in all of this?
It's a constitutional matter that if you do not proffer a reasonable explanation to the committee, you vacate your seat.
Do you feel Sarah Adwoa Safo is not even concerned anymore?
It's unfortunate.
She probably even wants to let go of the seat.
I don't know. I haven't spoken.
Because she's expressed interest, speaking with my colleague Blessed Suga, that as for the ministerial role, when she comes back, she wants to come and take it up. But I'm not saying for the MP position.
It is my understanding, and this is public knowledge, that Eugene Ahin, the communications director at the presidency, actually issued a statement sometime in October, indicating that her leave had been extended indefinitely.
Right.
What it suggests to me that
by the presidency.
Absolutely. She has permission from the presidency to go on the leave to deal with the issues that she disclosed.
Hold it there for me. What would it mean if, when you read Montesquieu and the others, they will tell you about separation of powers and the rest. What would this mean if, on the one hand, an executive president has given her leeway? Of course, he is the appointer when it comes to her ministerial position. You don't appoint an MP. But then, as an MP, this is happening. I mean, how does this work out? And what is your simple understanding of what the way forward is?
You know my position on this matter. I have repeatedly stated that I am unable to understand the impotence of the president when it comes to dealing with the matter of Adwoa Safo still remaining a minister. I can't understand the impotence. I don't know if Adwoa Safo is holding on to, It's early morning, but I don't know what she's holding of the president.
You want to suggest she has something on the president?
I don't know what she's holding of the president. I'm not saying against him, but like I said, it's early morning.
But you're saying this without proof, without evidence.
I'm not saying anything.
What could she have on the president?
English.
What could she have on the president?
If you want me to be
I
don't know if she's holding the president's balls. That's different from what you are thinking. I didn't want to use it because it's early morning, but clearly you misunderstood what I was.
Is there any sexual connotation to that?
It is English language, isn't it? I'm saying that I don't understand the president's impotence on this matter, and I don't know if she's holding on to something of the president. That the president is unable to just.
But he extended her leave. She's justified herself.
It is the reason why I, in my view, think that Parliament should extend her leave. She was elected by her people. The people have not complained to Parliament.
So Parliament should extend her leave?
The people have not explained to Parliament.
But you have your standing orders, you have your rules.
Okay, so let me deal with that.
Sittings.
Let me deal with the rules. I'll come to the rules. Now let's talk. Let's not talk politics. Let's talk. Rules, regulations, constitution. The constitution says that the member must be given the opportunity to, give reasons to the committee. The constitution also talks about how Parliament works and how Parliament committees work, right? Parliament's standing order is identified by the constitution. The standing orders indicate how committees work, and it shows how the privileges committee should handle, its sittings and its reports. Now, our friends in government, all of a sudden, want to put aside the regulations that should govern how the privileges committee should work and carry out their business and their reports, and just concentrate on the fact that the committee is, stated in the constitution to be the one responsible for handling this matter. But yes, the constitution also says that Parliament committees will work with to certain guidelines that will be established by Parliament. And we have those guidelines established. Now, finally, when this government and our friends in the majority, when they wanted Adwoa Safo to be in the House to help them pass the budget, didn't they find her?
All right. So point made.
So what are some of the things they did to get her to the floor of Parliament in the budget passing
that they can't do now?
That they can't do now.
Gentlemen, they
should extend all those courtesies that they extended.
That the time for this discussion is over. I am overstepping my bounds.
Sorry.
I am pleading with my producer on this bit. In 30 seconds each, I just want your thoughts on this. The E-levy was supposed to generate 6.9 billion. It's been revised to 611 million, which is under 10% of what the expectations were. Has the E-levy failed? Straight answer, 30 seconds. Has the E-levy failed?
It has underperformed.
It has underperformed. Should we scrap it on the back of this underperformance, especially as we are reintroducing tolls?
I don't think so, and nobody has reintroduced tolls.
We are reintroducing them for PP.
So why do you make it? Why do you make it?
What's the difference?
There's a lot of difference.
What
it means is that public-funded roads are not going to be tolled, as was the case in the past on the Accra Sekondi Road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
quick answer.
Roads that are funded with private sector injection has to be paid for, and so those roads would be tolled.
You would think that the tolls being on the Mensa stretch and Tema Motorway in the first place had the same ideology, because they had to be self-financing to even take care of the roads themselves. You would think that.
No, wait. No, it's important.
Well, you see,
please, if you permit me, those road tolls were intended to raise money to maintain those roads.
Which is the same point I'm making.
No, it's not.
Okay, all right. Thank you. The point has been made.
Anyway, but he says he doesn't have time. So for me, I was heartbroken the day that through the shenanigans of this government, the E-levy was passed.
Okay.
But I got,
Please
hopeful.
Stick to the sums. I just want your take.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got very hopeful and excited about the subtle activism of the Ghanaian when the reports showed that they had changed their behavior. That is what I have always, required of our citizens, to massively demonstrate to leadership every time through all the opportunities available to them.
Right.
When they disagree with the way they are being governed.
And you feel in this instance it is showing
I think
clearly?
so. I think so. You see, people deserve the kind of government that they get.
Okay.
If you begin to take things for granted, your government will take you for granted.
Thank you.
But if you behave in ways that will send them a clear message that you do not subscribe to certain interventions and certain moves, they will also work to your satisfaction. So I believe with time, the government will have no option than to scrap it, because just like the luxury vehicle tax was scrapped, I'm sure this will also be scrapped, because it's not just a bad tax.
Okay.
It is an inconvenience.
Al-Hassan Sweeney is Member of Parliament for Tamale North. He joined the conversation. Andre Japa-Mercer is Member of Parliament for 2nd D. Now, please, camera, show them. After these conversations, they are all chummy and buddy. So sometimes when I see... we are friends? No, some people out there don't get it. Sometimes they go and get all... They are bedfellows, chummy. So don't go and throw blows over. Anyway, Andre Japa-Mercer, Member of Parliament for 2nd D, also a Deputy Minister for Energy. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Now, coming up next, we take a look at Ghana's extractive industry and how we are exploring this to our benefit. All of that up next with Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah after the break.
Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. It's now time to have a conversation about how Ghana can economically benefit from adding value to our gold mined here. Also, artisanal small-scale gold mining, ASGM, has become a growing source of employment in Ghana. But formalization is still a big challenge, and it constitutes the root of a substantial number of problems and negative impacts associated with mining. You may recall government's drive to end illegal small-scale mining and the initiative to formalize it. Where are we now? And what benefits have we derived so far from that particular initiative? Well, I've been joined by Dr. Stephen Blessing Aka. He is Executive Director of ViewTag Ghana Gold Expo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. He joins me in studio. And via Zoom, we have Yaudia, Executive Coordinator of Gold Statement. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And I see what you're holding there, the Gold Expo Report 2022. Quite an interesting report, but it basically captures statements, presentations made by various people, government reps, industry players during the Gold Expo. Tell us basically, what was derived, or the key points that were raised during the Expo.
All right, thank you very much. And good morning to your viewers. So the Gold Expo started in 2019 with the support of His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We realized that we've been mining for the past years and we needed to add value to Ghana's gold. So with the able support of Honorable Governor Chedaku Mensah, who is currently the Western Regional Minister, and of course, the Western region contributes 50+ of the total gold that we have in Ghana. So it was economically sense to host the Gold Expo in Western region in 2020 till now. The 2022 report looks at 3 key areas. We want to look at the formalization structure of the small-scale mining sector in the community mining program that the government have launched. We also want to look at the reserve optimization programs that the central bank across Africa have decided to engage. And the last part is the job creation through mining sector. And I would like to break it down a bit. We've been mining for years. there are three issues that we have to look at. The first one has to look at the national framework that we have in terms of the ministry, the agency, the departments such as Ministry of Lands, which we know we have Minerals Commission, PMMC, the Geological Survey. These are national frameworks that support the regulatory body in terms of mining sector in Ghana. This is where that most of us have been focusing on. This goes beyond that in the sense that we are trying to look at how to formalize the small-scale mining sector, because at the end of the day, the small-scale contribute 40% of the total gold that we produce in Ghana. There are other factors that we have to look at in terms of formalizing the sector, because for at least the government since 2019 have done a lot in terms of protecting the destruction of land, also removal of mercury in the extraction of gold that we use, because we know mercury is a dangerous chemical that we use. Also the reclamation and the conservation program that we have. However, we need to look at the industrial requirement. This is where we fall short as a continent, as a country. We have several industrial requirements such as the London Exchange metal, which we mostly look at the base metal in terms of copper, zinc, and other ones. We have the Indian Stock Exchange market supply program for raw material certification, which means that the Indian, as a country, allows people to bring in raw materials. However, they are unable to export refined gold. So the reason why a lot of Indians are here is as a result of the policy that they have put in place to attract a lot of raw materials from developing countries like Africa. So it's an industry requirement that they have created. There are other ones such as the Responsible Minerals Initiative, who look at how to source gold responsibly. Then the last part, which is known by everybody, the London Market Bullion Association, which is the LBMA, that issues certification for refineries to refine gold. Ghana have tried several times with LBMA because LBMA is close to us in London, and it doesn't work. So what we decided to do as an entity was to look at the drivers for responsible sourcing, which we realized that there are affiliate programs, such as the Responsible Sourcing Program, that enables refineries, a country, and traders, and also the miners, to source gold responsibly. And this gives you some form of brand, so that you are not, in a way, taken out of the trade exit. And that is the drivers that we are looking at. So at the moment, LBMA affiliate programs, such as the Responsible Sourcing Program, have been issued to Ghana through RGC, which is the Responsible Jewelry Council. That shows that we can now decide to source gold responsibly without using mercury, child labor, money laundering, and all these things.
I'll come back to you for more on what we've been discussing. But let me mention that Abdul Razak, who is Communications Director of the Small Scale Miners Association, joins the conversation via Zoom. Let me start with you, sir, because small scale miners have been in the news for a very long time. I remember when the fight against illegal mining started, there was a lot of focus on small scale miners who didn't have the right licenses, who didn't follow the right practices in mining, and so government decided to regularize the sector. What will your assessment of that initiative be as we speak currently?
Good morning to your listeners. It is true, but since 2017, we've been having challenges in our sector as small-scale miners, though on the whole network, I think we produce a lot of gold in this country, whereby whatever we do remains in the country. But when it comes to illegalities and legal ones, that is where the challenge is. Many people are there mining without following due process, and it affected our sector very well, whereby the government even brought a blanket ban on small-scale mining, whether lances or not lances. And after 2017, 2018, 2019, government started bringing initiatives to see how best we all see and formalize the sector. And through that, this community mining model was introduced. And I think MMIP multi-sectorial something of came in, and there are so many things that government initiatives that government have brought. Whilst we as an association, we've also made a lot of effort to see how best the system will be sanitized. Though fighting illegalities is a canker whereby you can take 1 day to solve. It's a process. But so those who are in the sector will testify that since the fight of Galamsey started, I think government have chalked some successes, but there's still more to be done. Whilst we are also doing our part, seeing how best we train our members, educate them, let them understand the need of going in for concessions, the mining and mining responsibly. So I think so far so good. We are still putting things in place, though it's difficult. It has not been easy, but gradually it will get to time we all get there.
So this government in particular is on a digitalization drive, and I'm looking at the Gold Expo Report 2022, the submission by the Deputy Lands Minister, George Mrekuduka, and he talks about how digitization of mineral rights acquisition process can also help in dealing with this issue, and it has to do with giving licenses, tracing them, and all that. Has that started yet?
Yeah, thank you very much. It started last year, somewhere in November, and this MCAT system is been working very well. Those who have gone in for licenses will testify. Because of the digitization system, this time you can sit at your comfort zone with your email address, everything, and then do your search on the maps. Then you can even apply through that system. I think they are bringing everybody on these MCAT processes, and it's working. And it's working. When you at least you're a small-scale miner and you follow the system very well, it has reduced so many things. This human facing and traveling up and down. Somewhere in the north, you have to travel down to Accra for everything. But through the digitization, I think now many of our members are okay, and we are still educating many to understand the system. You know, this is a system whereby many of us, we don't rely on only those who are who have PhDs and those things. Any person at all can go into our sector, and you get a place to work. So those who are having less knowledge about these digitization processes, I think the officers of Minerals Commission all over the country, when you get to their offices, they will educate you, show you the way. If you don't have the idea, they will find a way and show you how to process your documents. And it is the facilitation and everything. So far, so good. Though we still have more people to educate. We are going to the grassroots as an association. We've got technical people to show them, demonstrate some of these things to them, for them to see how best they will come out of this system. So digitization, yes, the government have tried. They are working very hard, and we have an energetic minister and his deputy, Honorable Mrekuduka, who is doing fantastic.
Right.
So there's a lot that is going on.
Mr. Razak, I'll have you hold on at this point. Let me bring in Mr. Dia, who is joining us via Zoom. Good morning to you once again, sir. So I'm looking once again at the Gold Expo Report 2022, and there is a statement in here by Mr. Selim Fendi, who is CEO of Orum Monaco, and he moderated the conversation on gold trading and export formalization. So this particular initiative by government to digitalize the entire system, how do you see it playing into the need to really formalize the sector and ensure that persons who are not doing the right thing are found and persons without licenses cannot operate? And also when it comes to trading, government can quickly monitor, because we also know what happens on that side where there are illegal exports causing loss to the state.
Well, yes, thank you very much for having me on the program. First of all, I'll say that our organization has been deeply concerned about the role of jewelers, and especially their access, the limited access to gold. And so we believe that with the digitization process, it will help to streamline things, categorize things, especially in terms of standardization and making sure that every aspect of the material that gets into the hands of responsible users can be traced and can be ascertained that they are being used for the right purpose and can be validated through authorization to be sure that the right things are being done at all times. We are truly concerned about the jewelers, mainly because for a very long time they have not been able to access gold at competitive prices. And we believe that this digitization process will eventually streamline things, and everybody, all the jewelers concerned, those who are really into the craftsmanship of creating, Ghanaian jewelry, you can find a suitable place on the market, both locally and internationally.
Mr. Dia, just like many of the things that we extract in this country, there appears to be a big problem about adding value to those things that we extract. And so you find that a lot of the time we send out the raw material, it comes back to us, there's more value, we pay more for what we source locally, and it's a big problem. So how do we deal with that aspect of the problem as well, ensuring that we explore and utilize the major avenues that can help us not only get the benefits of mining, but also adding value to what we extract?
Well, that's probably what Gold Statement has been embarking upon for over a decade now. Notice that the only sector that adds value to gold is the jewelers. And so if you don't equip the jewelers, it means you're going to continue exporting gold. Now, jewelers need the gold to be able to create jewelry and create that unique, traditional, craftsmanship that the Gold Coast or Ghana is known for. We started this advocacy because we noticed that gradually the jewelry sector was eventually dying. We noticed at a point that over 10,000 jobs and livelihoods had been lost. And this is basically because it had been neglected. The jewelry sector had been neglected. And most of the goldsmiths and jewelers had, turned towards trading in jewelry rather than making the jewelries themselves. So we thought, listen, we cannot continue doing this. There's a unique craftsmanship that everybody knows, or those who really understand jewelry internationally expect to see about gold jewelry from Ghana. We need to bring all that back. And the most important thing, we need to start by trying to find out what we can do to help the jewelers access gold. We need to find out what we can do, again, the database and the digitization, getting an absolute, complete database of all the jewelers, finding out those who are aptly resourced, those who are not aptly resourced, how they can be assisted, and so on. So ours has been the continuous development and upgrading of the jewelry sector. And we believe that once the jewelry sector has been, revamped, the value addition will follow as a matter of course, because really the only way, or probably the most potent and most vital way of adding value is creating jewelry. And in Ghana, our traditions give us the opportunity to create jewelry right from birth all the way through one's lifetime, marriage, and even beyond. So there's so many things that we can do, even if we link it to our culture and our tradition, So we believe that once we focus and continue to drive and put in a lot to rejuvenate the jewelry sector, our value addition discourse or action or agenda, will be gaining some good traction.
Mr. Dia, so this may be a wild estimation, but say we are able to turn about 70% or 80% of the gold we extract into jewelry. Do you think that there is a ready market for it, or we then have to begin to explore the angle of now exporting most of these value-added products of gold?
There are concerns. I mean, there are concerns with standardization. Doc was talking about the mercury in our gold and so on. And so as part of our initiative, we're engaging all other stakeholders like Standards Authority, Minerals Commission, and so on, to see how we can ensure that the product that eventually gets to the jewelers can be ascertained that they are of the right quality or the right measure to be able to deliver the craftsmanship that we envisage. Truth is, there is no question about the genuineness or the authentic Ghanaian handmade jewelry. The only question that has been asked, internationally, is the mercury in the gold and how we can ascertain standards and so on. So ours is bringing all the stakeholders together to ensure that once the craftsmanship and the skill is available, and then the gold, access to gold is available, other stakeholders can assist in making sure that the standards and the necessary concerns are observed. And then obviously, we have started making some attempts towards collaborating with other international gold and jewelry exports, especially in South Africa, to see how we can create an international market for the jewelers. But we believe that even within Ghana, we can start with developing the domestic market and then we move it to the next level.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Dia, for your concluding thoughts on this conversation. But let me come back to you in studio. There are many uses of gold, but we know that a large percentage of gold extracted in the world is used for jewelry. Should Ghana be looking at exploring the other value additions of gold, say producing stuff that will be used in cosmetics, producing stuff that could be used in medicine and even dentistry? Or you think that we should just focus on one aspect and then excel there?
All right, thank you very much. That's a great question. I think the answer has to do with certification. In my earlier presentation, I mentioned that there are 3 stages that we have to look at. I think Mr. Dia and that of Razak was telling you the initiative that the government have put in, which is the national framework that you have to conform to them. Now, after the national legal framework, which is Minerals Commission, PMMC trying to see that the right thing is done under the Ministry or Ministry of Environment, there is industry requirement. Regarding the jewelry that we are talking about, the trade exit is global and liquid. It means it's unlimited. What matters is that if the gold that you source is not certified, there's no way the gold can be recognized that this gold is coming from Ghana, because there must be the originality of the gold. Once you don't have that, you only sell the gold without a value. So this is what we've been facing as a country for the past years, because the LBMA will not give you certification, the Responsible Jewelry Council will not give you certification, the India Stock Exchange focusing on gold will also not give you certification. Because I mentioned to you that they have certain countries, example like Dubai, the DMCC, which is the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, allows gold from developing countries to come. And once the gold goes, what they do is that they say they have the refineries to extract the mercury, to extract the chemicals out of it, and now they are able to transform the gold into an originality. So this is what happens. So what is happening is that before we even want to go into medicine, want to go into this, we have to look at the certification first. Until we look at the certifications, there's no way the gold that we produce in Ghana will add value.
And if I get you clearly, the certification is linked to some of these unwanted products or elements like mercury and other chemicals in our gold. Is that the case?
Yes. So the certification mostly look at the supply chain program or the OECD supply chain and the due diligence program that is mostly used around metals. For example, we have the London Metal Exchange that look at the base metal, But what the discussion we're having has to do with the LBMA and the responsible sourcing. Ghana is fortunate now to have the responsible sourcing program accepted into Ghana. So it means that if the government continue to be proactive in the program that they are initiating in terms of not allowing mercury to be used, child labor, money laundering, all these things, it means that we have to now set up a sourcing program through the code of practice by either RGC or LBMA or any of those things. Then now the gold now has to now go to a refinery because the certification is mostly given. I mentioned to that they are drivers of the responsible sourcing. You cannot add value when you don't have the drivers. In Ghana, we have three of them that we have identified. The first one has to do with the refineries. The refineries should be able to have the certification, allow them to refine gold, so that once the gold is refined, they can now keep the gold here. The other drivers has to do with the traders which export the gold. A trader goes, for example, Razak no, a trader will go to any of the community mining, source gold, and we don't know the source. So what he does is that he's only sending the gold outside of Ghana to either India or Dubai. There's no value to it. But once you're able to put the trader in a program through the responsible sourcing program, he's able to tell you the traceability. That's why the digitalization comes in. So now you know that from the mining, the extraction side, the in-between, and also the trade exit. So you're able to know the traceability. Then the last part that we have also seen is the domestic purchase program by the central banks across Africa. The central bank is seen as the most credible and also efficient in terms of management of funds. So developing nations, according to the G20, allows them to look at the new strategy for financial sector and the world economy, so that we don't even go to IMF and other inappropriate things that we want to do. So the central bank comes in to look at the domestic purchase program. So what they are also trying to do is that, for example, and I applaud Bank of Ghana for doing that, for 62 years we didn't reserve gold, because Bank of Ghana cannot go and take a gold from a miner who extract gold with mercury. It's against the industrial requirement by LBMA or RGC. But now Bank of Ghana is also trying to see how they come in to be able to support the small scale through PMMC, through the refineries, so that we can source gold responsibly and now refine the gold and even keep the gold here. Then the jewelers now comes in to see how, because the trade exit is unlimited. So even people, for example, all the designers like Michael Kors, Louis Vuitton, they consume 20% of the gold that we produce globally. So it means there's a lot of demand. The challenge is that you don't have the certification, you don't have the response sourcing, so you only produce the gold and take the gold to Dubai or any part of other countries that they want the raw materials.
Let me take the concluding remarks or response from Mr. Dria, who is Executive Coordinator for Gold Statement. So, Mr. Dria, I mean, we step out onto the streets, we talk to Ghanaians, there's a lot of frustration in the system. You hear people say things like, and we've been extracting gold in this country for so long, but we never have anything to show for it. So, the discussion we've been having this morning, let's now focus on the benefits that this nation is likely to derive on we maximizing and placing value on the gold we extract here. How would it translate into the general economy and well-being of it?
Well, yes, I started by telling you that we noticed that over 10,000 jobs or livelihoods were being lost. And so once we revamped the sector, we're sure that we should be able to create more livelihoods. Another thing we realized was that there's this old traditional jewelry making that is known to a lot of elderly goldsmiths. Some of them have passed it on to the younger generation. Some have not been able to. And those who have even passed it on to younger generations, they are not even interested in pursuing it because they don't see how viable it is. So generally, we are rejuvenating a sector by creating more jobs. And don't forget that once you create the jewelry, there are other, jobs that come or livelihoods that come along the line. There's a marketing aspect, there's a trading aspect, and so on. So we believe that once we're able to revamp this sector, we're creating a lot more livelihoods, a lot more returns for the economy, and a lot more people will have various means of getting into it. Truth is, once, apart from the old or the existing jewelers who are still in it and are being encouraged to get back, there are a lot more people who are also interested and would be interested in training. So there are some training institutions that have actually started training more craftsmen in jewelry making. And so we believe that if you look at there's an institution called Lansah Jewelry that is training a lot more people in various aspects of the jewelry industry, the craftsmanship, the unique ways of marketing and presenting jewelry, and so on. So these are all kinds of various lively.
Hello, Mr. Dia?
Trades, jobbing, and hello, yes.
Sorry, we lost you. Please conclude.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Dia, I can hear you now.
Oh.
Hello?
Oh, okay. I was saying that, hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that, I don't know at what point you lost me, but I was saying that once we get all the sectors working, there's the jewelers who are already working, who need to be resourced, and then you have those who are some kind of discouraged and need to be encouraged to get back into the sector, and then you have those who would see how viable it is and would need to get into it and need to be trained. And there are training institutions, I mentioned institutions like Lansah Jewelry, who are actually doing a great job in training jewelers in craftsmanship, and also taking over the entire aspects of the jewelry industry, the presentation, the marketing, the trading, and so on. So we're foreseeing a whole sector being rejuvenized and modernized and digitized and creating all kinds of, livelihoods for the youth, for the elderly, and so on.
Right. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, Mr. Dia. This is where we'll leave it with you. But let me also go to Mr. Razak for his concluding response to this particular question. Let me put you on the spot. You are with the small-scale miners. Which do you prefer, to export the raw gold or to sell it to local jewelers who add value on it? Which one do you prefer?
I think nobody will think of exporting raw material without bringing out the best out of what you have. This value chain addition or this value chain we are talking about, any addition that will add into this value addition we are talking about, any addition, when we don't look at the extractive sector very well, because if you look at the whole chain, all the certifications, all these beautifications and what we are talking about, when we don't manage the extractive sector where we are very well, when you don't produce this gold, how do you add any value to it? So that is a sector whereby we need to look at very well, because these large scales that who are in this country, none of them are refining their gold here. They extract this gold, send it out, and we don't know where it's going. We don't even know the percentage.
Is it a case that we don't have enough refineries, or because we don't have certain certification that will allow them to sell the gold in other parts of the world, they prefer to refine it elsewhere?
We don't have refineries in this country. I think we just have some few ones, but even supplying them with raw materials, where are the raw materials? Because those who are supposed to supply them are we, the small-scale mining, this small-scale mining sector. And we are not encouraging it. We are not trying to put things in place to make sure that we work and then produce these raw materials to these refineries. So, to me, as we speak, we all want our local industries to work. We want our jewelry, Look, anytime there's a problem in this sector, as small-scale mining, everybody goes to sector.
thinking that it is we that extracted, those who extract this gold have our own problem. Meanwhile, it's a challenge across. If all of us, all the stakeholders come together to think of how best we can work together around the clock, extract this gold as Ghanaians, refine them, add value addition to it before we can do whatever we want to do it. I think all these things will not be happening. So until we all agree that, yes, small-scale mining sector is a sector we all have to embrace and fish out the badness out of it, and then we see how best we can progress in the sector. All these value addition, jewelries and what, all of them are redundant because the Galamsey system or the small-scale mining sector has not been treated very well. So before we can add this value addition, we can get certifications, and then this, what is the name, child labor turn out of the system, unless all the stakeholders realize that it is the small-scale mining sector which will save this country, and we must all embrace it and see how best we can bring ideas and then extract this gold very well and take out these illegal activities rather than lambasting us always creating problems.
Mr. Razak, quickly, let me find out from you these issues you highlighted, using mercury, child labor, and all that. Yes, government can set up regulations, can put up a framework, but it is up to you, the small-scale miners, to make a decision to adhere to what government is saying, or else the Bashan and the tax force will come after you. So what are you doing as small-scale miners to also ensure that your members are abiding by the regulations?
My sister, we are doing our best as an association. I think we are educating our people. We are telling them so many, because right now, I think we've turned this Minamata Convention as a program whereby by 2025, this mercury usage and what all will be the thing of the past, whereby we are engaging with, we've engaged with UMAT, where they are training us on how to use this rate thought system. Whilst we also spoke with government, and this gold catcher 10 came in, whereby we will not be using mercury. So the mercury aspect and those things, I think where government and we, the industry players, are working hand to hand to make sure that we oblige to this convention of this Minamata 10. When it comes to child labor, the association have a very good relation with ILO, whereby we've gone down to the roots and make sure that all the communities whereby children under 18 years are engaged in this small-scale or illegal mining thing. We are eradicating many of them, and we are doing so many things to help them come out of this system.
Right,
so
Mr. Razak, I'd like you to answer the next question for me as quickly as you can, so we wrap up the conversation. What is your association's punitive measures for its members who do not abide by the regulations? Briefly, sir.
Yes, you see, this is a sector whereby we are having a whole lot of challenge. So the association have now adopted a strategy whereby we make sure that all members all small-scale miners who are into our sector will make sure that they will abide and follow the rules and regulations.
What if they don't? What do you do to them if they don't?
We've engaged them, and we are, as an association, we are facilitating their activities, whereby getting their licenses and their lands, making sure that we form monitoring teams to make sure that they will be doing things and doing it rightly. Those who are having financial handicaps, we are working out and looking for sponsors to make sure that they will help them, to groom them, and make sure that...
Let me make my question a bit clearer if it's not. If you find that a member of yours is using a young chap under 18 years, when you find that out, what do you do?
Yes, I think we have our task force intact, and we have our, what is the name, monitoring team, whereby when they visit this site and you see there's any child under age working, they will make sure that you, the owner, who is handling this, putting this people there, you will be held responsible. You have punishment that we give them. One, we will let you halt your business for now. Okay. Take all those people out. When you do not adhere, that is where the tax force can come and close your business.
Okay.
And then we'll report you to Minerals Commission to make sure that they will even revoke your license. So we are working on all these things.
I'm grateful for your time here this morning. Adwoa Safo is Communications Director of the Small Scale Miners. I'm told that Mr. Tria has a quick word. I let him go earlier, but let's hear you, sir, as we wrap up the conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the conversation or the discourse continues annually on an event we call Gold Statement, where we bring together all the stakeholders, the jewelers, the goldsmiths, the policymakers, Minerals Commission, GSA, and so on. And what simply we do is try to bring out all the issues and try to make some progress in terms of the value addition. This year, we're continuing, and the discourse is still under the theme, harnessing the gains made in the value addition to gold and the gold and jewelry sector, our joint responsibility. Our joint responsibility in terms of all of us as stakeholders coming together to see how we can move the agenda forward beyond a discourse, but towards an action. We're launching it at Alisa Hotel on the 16th of August, and the main event will be at Marriott Hotel between the 24th and 27th of November. We think that all the stakeholders should continue to support this event so we can continue to see the progress that we all envisage for the sector. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. That's the Audio Executive Coordinator of Gold Statement. And in the studio, I've been speaking to Stephen Blessing Aka, Executive Director of UTAG Ghana Gold Expo. Briefly, if you can, in 30 seconds, tell me what you hope this report will do for the extractive industry.
Thank you. Yes, so the report, as I mentioned, started in 2019, and we've seen a lot of success through the Gold Expo reports. For example, the Gold Expo report in 2020 launched the first zero mercury machine, and today we've seen that the government have adopted the initiative and they've also purchased more than 100 of these machines. In the same time, in 2020, we looked at the domestic purchase program by Central Bank of Ghana, and today Bank of Ghana is buying gold to reserve for the country. We've also seen the biggest break for Ghana, whereby an affiliate of LBMA have issued the certification for Ghana for us to source gold responsibly, refine the gold so that we can add value to Ghana's gold. So this is the great thing that the Ghana Gold Expo report is doing. We are very much happy to work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because the report is mostly sent through all the commercial office for outside of Ghana, and we've seen a lot of impact of the Gold Expo report.
Thank you very much once again. Stephen Blessing Aka is Executive Director of UTAG Ghana Gold Expo. And that has been our conversation this morning on maximizing the gold that we extract in this country. Well, JoyNews, in partnership with the EcoBank, is bringing you the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, and we've brought you our first clinic, which was at the Achimota Retail Center. The next one will be happening next week at the West Hills Mall, and we'll be bringing you more on that. We'll take a quick breather here. When we come back, we will be having a discussion with the Ghana Medical Association. You don't want to miss that. Do stay. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. Well, it's now time to have a conversation about doctor-patient relationship. Or let me just make it broader. The healthcare worker and the patient, or what we now call client. If you go to a private facility, you're not a patient, you're a client. The relationship between these two groups, we know over the years, it's not been too exciting. A lot of people complain about the kind of treatments they get when they visit health facilities or they come into contact with health officials. Well, the Ghana Medical Association has taken note of this and is trying to deal with the situation. Dr. Titus Bayo is General Secretary of the GMA and member of a committee, that's the Public Lecture Committee, because you're going to be having a public lecture on this issue we are discussing. Doc, I'm happy to have you here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Why are some of your health workers so mean?
Difficult to answer, but it's not expected that anybody should be mean, especially to another human being when they are at their lowest point and all they need is empathy, help, and assistance from another human being. So I don't think we expect anybody to be mean. Yeah.
Do your members get psychological help? Let me tell you why I'm asking this question. I don't like going to the hospital because anytime I leave the hospital, I'm depressed.
Okay.
Especially if I go to a public health care facility. It's either you're seeing an accident victim being brought in, there's a family on the side wailing because they just lost somebody, there's someone screaming in the labor ward. I can't stand it. Maybe I'm not cut for that profession. But do you offer psychological help to people who have to deal with this almost every day of their lives and are still expected to have the right frame of mind to attend to people?
Yeah, we do. By our training, we go through a lot of psychological training. We learn, for doctors, for instance, we learn psychiatry, we learn psychology as part of the training. And we have doctors who, in addition, even specialize in these areas. Besides this, in the major hospitals, there are clinical psychologists available to offer help to all healthcare workers who get into a state of mental breakdown. And I must admit, even despite all of this, we all get hit sometimes. You might lose a patient or get a very bad outcome, and it can hit you. It can take you days to recover. A lot of the time, you're able to shake it off, recover, and continue. Sometimes when the recovery takes long, then you need to get help. And this help is usually available. In the medical fraternity in particular, within the medical association, we even have gone further with our regulator to come up with what we call fitness to practice. So if you have mental challenges, you are hit so badly, you are struggling to be able to cope and concentrate, then an issue of fitness to practice comes in, because you are expected as a caregiver to take good care of yourself, your own health, your mental health, and be in a state to be able to offer the best of care. But admittedly, sometimes we all get hit. There have been instances where I get home and sometimes I can sleep. You would think through what is happening, or even in anticipation of a very difficult situation. I'm a surgeon, I'm a gynecologist, and sometimes you may even have a case you are going to do the next day, and the whole night you'll be thinking about it. What could go wrong? What could go right? What you must do? All these sort of thought processes go on in our mind, all in the interest of the patient.
Considering doctor to patient ratio, considering equipment, logistic constraints, considering salary structures for healthcare workers, do you think that sometimes the public is not compassionate enough towards you, even as they expect to receive the compassion from the healthcare workers? Do you, as health workers, sometimes feel like you don't understand our frustration?
No, I think we do understand the frustration of patients, because we are also patients ourselves. And my wife is a doctor as well, and she was telling me that the day our son got ill and we had to go to another department and we had to sit down and wait in a queue to be seen, then she understood very well what it meant when her patients are waiting the whole day in a queue waiting to see her. We are also patient, and so we think we really understand and appreciate the frustration of patients. What sometimes is difficult is that, the patients sometimes don't see the sacrifices we make. And once you are in need or you are in pain, all you want is a solution to your pain. You don't care whatever has happened. We are looking for results and not effort. And I think that's where sometimes the mismatch comes in. Because a doctor may use his own money to pay the bill of a patient. A doctor may run around to get blood for the patient. But if unfortunately that patient dies, to hell with whatever you have done already. As far as a relative is concerned, they are bereaved. They are grieving. They've lost someone. So all your effort is not seen. And at that point, if the doctor doesn't have this mindset, you would find it difficult to understand why the patient don't realize what you have done or what the nurse has done to make the situation better, but it didn't work. But on the other side, the patient relative doesn't care about the effort. They were looking for results. They were hoping their relative will leave, and unfortunately the person is dead. But what we will wish that the public understands more is that, yes, we work in very trying times, very difficult conditions, and sometimes the expectation of the patient, not their frustration, but the expectation that they have of the system is difficult sometimes to be met, just by virtue of how the system is set up. If you go to a clinic where people come by appointment, 20 a day, you go there, you are at your appointed time, you are seen. You get to a clinic, a doctor is going to see like 70 patients, 80 patients, no count. You are just seeing till it is done, and the patients are coming. You are the only person. You realize that the expectation of the patient is that once I get there, within an hour, I should be seen. That expectation is not met because of how the system is set up. And one of them is the simple fact of the inadequacy of the doctors and the nurses and the people around. So if you're the only doctor in the district hospital, you are running a clinic, there's nobody else. So if 100 people are there at the same time, someone will be there from 6 a.m. and will leave at 6 p.m.
Doc, there's something that beats my mind. So we've been talking about the issue of not having adequate doctors, yet every year we are training doctors.
Yes.
And I'm not sure the inflow is as much as the outflow. So to say that the number of doctors coming in is the same number as those exiting, so that there always is a gap. Aren't we catching up? Aren't we bridging that gap?
We have bridged the gap significantly over the years. We started with 1 medical school, it increased to 2. Now we have 5 public medical schools. In addition, we have 2 private medical schools in the country. We are receiving huge numbers coming in from outside as well, training and coming. So it has improved significantly. What is worrisome to the Medical Association is the distribution of the doctors. Whilst you will find several doctors in Kolebu, in Komfanoche, in Accra, in Kumasi in general, in the rural areas, you will struggle to find doctors.
But is that not because you have more people at these facilities, Komfanoche, Kolebu? There are people, I mean, I was shocked to learn, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, that you couldn't just walk into Kolebu.
Yes.
That you had to be referred. But you have people doing that. People walking and they expect to be seen.
Yeah, that is an abuse of our gatekeeper system. It shouldn't happen. You can't walk to Kolebu with simple malaria.
But isn't that the reason why, probably due to the numbers, it's just a bit, I mean, not to sound disrespectful, but it's just logical that when the numbers are high, you would have more doctors.
No, so when I say we have more in Kolebu, more in Komfanoche, more in Accra, it's not to say that they have more than they need.
Okay.
But the point is the distribution is not equitable. So you take my home district. I come from Upper West, the Lambuse district. The entire district has 1 doctor. How do you compare that with a system where you go to another place like in my unit in Kolebu? In my unit, we have over 20 doctors. We still have so much work to do in my unit, where we work on Monday, we do 24 hours. We start 8 a.m., close Tuesday, 8 a.m., and we even do normal work on Tuesday. So we're closing sometimes around 2, 3. That's more than necessary. Yes, but the situation is that in some parts of the country, we still have very dire inadequacies of the doctors and nurses. And that's what I'm talking about, the inequitable distribution. We had wished and that every part of this country will have the sufficient numbers. Our numbers, as expected of the WHO standard, is still very low. Another thing that's compounding this is that people are also exiting. COVID has made it even worse. The West now need doctors, they need healthcare workers, and our people are moving.
Because there's more opportunity, easier working environment,
and more salary.
And there's more money.
Yes.
Yes. So I'll come back to that. But on the issue of the health worker, patient/client relationship, what do you do when you find out? Or let me start this way. Is there an opportunity for people to report issues of abuse that they may have suffered at the hands of a health worker?
Yes, there is. We wish that it never happened, and never happens in any situation, but it does happen sometimes. And in every hospital, there's a complaint unit. You can make a complaint at the complaint unit. There are suggestion boxes you can put notes into. You can walk up straight to the head of the facility to make a report. This is trying to reform the system and using internal controls. If you are not happy with that and you have an issue with a particular provider, you can go to their regulatory authority. So if it's a doctor, you can go to the Medical and Dental Council. If it's a nurse, you can go to the Nurses and Midwifery Council. If it's a laboratory person, you can go to the Allied Health Professions Council. Everybody in the health sector, the clinical staff, are regulated because of the nature of job that we do. We have licenses we work with that can be seized, that can be suspended, so you can seek redress in that arm. You also have the opportunity to use the normal law courts. In case you are not happy with something, you can also seek redress in the regular courts. All these avenues are available to patients who feel abused or clients who feel abused, but we really will wish that these abuses don't happen. And it is a reason why the association decided to have this discussion, because we've noticed that the relationship between healthcare workers and their clients has deteriorated in a way. It's in evolution. We started from a point where the healthcare worker was seen as the one who knows it all. And when he says it, the patient just have to comply. Then there's been models where we expect the healthcare worker in the position of power to provide guidance. And then again, the client only cooperates. But now we are preaching what we call a mutually participatory model. You have power as a patient, and I wish that our client and patient know that they have power. They are experts in their own condition. You know yourself more than any doctor. The doctor has medical knowledge, the nurse has medical knowledge, but you know your system. You know what is happening to you. So you have power in that regard. The doctor also has power, but we need these two powers to merge to bring out the best results for you. So as a patient, your duty is to provide the right information, ask the relevant questions, answer the questions as truthfully and honestly as possible to guide the doctor. The doctor is supposed to explain what he knows medically to you and provide all the information to you, all alternatives to you. Together, then you plan a management pathway, and then you all agree on what to do. So where doctors are not explaining, nurses are not explaining to you, they are coming to give you an injection, you don't even know what injection it is, how many times you're going to get that.
I found that, sorry to cut in, but I found that some healthcare professionals in Ghana don't like curious or inquisitive patients. So like you're saying, oh, what's that? What are you giving my child?
Yeah.
What is it called? Can I have any allergic information?
Yeah.
You know, then I'm not you know, especially when you go to a local, the public health facilities.
No.
You know, and we have that. So I'm happy you're teaching it quickly. We need to wrap up this conversation. I wish we had time. So how are you hoping to disseminate this after the lecture, which is happening on Friday?
Yeah.
How does it get to your members?
Okay.
How do we get practical with the things that you'll be discussing?
Okay, so I want to thank the multimedia group even for this opportunity. We've started a dissemination. We've brought this to a national stage on your platform for everybody to discuss it. It's a tripartite. We need a healthcare worker, we need a patient, and we need the employers or the facility owners to help us achieve this goal of improving this relationship. So for the side of the patient, I think this platform is doing just that for us, empowering the patients to know that they have the right to ask, to know. You have the right to your body. You have the right to your medical information. Nothing is supposed to be hidden from you. And you should ask and demand it and get the answers. If not, you have the right to object to any treatment. No doctor can touch you without your consent. And you have choice, unless in a place where there's only one doctor, you cannot go anywhere. If you don't like the service of one person, report it and move to another place. Now, on the part of our providers, we are doing what we call continuous professional education and teaching them on this. After this public lecture, a position paper will be produced to all stakeholders. And on the part of the employers, the facility owners, the government, and those who own private facilities, we are going to engage them with the findings of this. For instance, one example is that the patient charter provides that you should have privacy. When I'm taking your medical history, nobody else should be around. It should be only you. If there are going to be students around, for instance, in a teaching hospital like where I work, I should seek your permission and inform you that I'm going to talk to you in the presence of students. But we have consulting rooms today where doctors share. What it means is that while I'm talking to you, another doctor is talking to another patient. So that patient can hear your responses to me. And you can also hear her responses. The privacy is lost. So we are hoping to engage all stakeholders so that at the end of the day, we go by the tenets of this patient charter and improve this relationship.
So, Doc, are you saying that if I walk into a facility and I see, and usually they tag nurses to doctors, and I see a nurse there and I'm being spoken to, I can tell the doctor, can she excuse us?
You can, if you want to object to the nurse, but it's for good reason that the doctor is with the nurse. Like as a gynecologist, it's unethical for me to see a woman without anybody else around. For the purpose of all sort of issues, you have to be comfortable. I need a chaperone to be sure that I'm doing what is right. So it is in your interest that that nurse is there. Okay. If you are objecting to a particular nurse, you could request for a different nurse. Okay. But to say you want to be all alone with a doctor, it's a bit problematic.
It's a bit problematic. But thank you, Doc. Hopefully we can continue this once the lecture is done on Friday. But exactly. Dr. Titus Bayo is with the Ghana Medical Association. He's its General Secretary. And we're talking about healthcare workers and their client relationship. And I mean, we were having a conversation before this, and I have met very, very nice doctors, some of them working in public institutions, like Dr. Jokoto at Konfanoche, Dr. Yauberma at Konfanoche, very wonderful doctors. Great. And people are surprised that I say this. They are the reasons I always like to go to Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. Lovely. Keep up the good work you're doing. Thank you. Well, hello Ghana. Happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#option 2, *780#option 2, and follow the prompts on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Please don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply. When we come back, let me see if we'll have some time to take some of your comments. Do stay. Hello, when you see this setup, you know it's time to take your comments. And Benjamin has joined me.
Oh,
quickly.
Yes, I'm here too.
Yeah. Quickly, I hope we'll be able to take your phone calls. The number to call is 0302-211-691, extension 2. All right, so hopefully you can call, share your thoughts with us on what we've been discussing today. But on Facebook, we were asking you your expectations as Parliament is likely to decide Sarah Adwoa Safo's fate today. We know that the House is going on recess, and the majority side of the Privileges Committee has recommended that her seat be declared vacant. But the minority side says, no, we won't permit you to do this. This morning you had Al-Hassan Suhini explaining why. He says, look, oh, you needed her to come in. Would you find a way to bring her? So what's your problem? Find a way to bring her. Well,
it's going to be interesting in Parliament looking at the numbers.
Yes, I'm well, I don't.
Oh, that's first message. That's first message. I have no idea.
Well, Stephen Mirza says, sack her. Oscar says, my expectation is my NTM to block my SIM because I don't have a Ghana card. Have you
that's a concern.
Have you been to any of the registration centers recently? It is crazy.
It's chaotic.
It is.
I met someone at the mall yesterday who was coming for same. Actually, she had attempted it somewhere and she didn't even realize that it had been linked. So she was still trying to go somewhere else and do it. And I had to do the *404# for her. Okay. So she actually checked and she found out that it had already been linked. So you were
talking about linking the SIM card to the Ghana card. I'm even talking about people who do not have the Ghana card as at now.
That is another problem, the queues. In fact, do you know what is interesting, Bernice? Just this morning, a short while ago, my mom called me. Guess what she's following?
What?
Her Ghana card.
Wow. Interesting. Well, quickly, All Pond says, I will not waste my energy. Jerry Douglas says, expectations, let the law work. Good morning. That's an interesting one. And Kojo Apia says, lawmakers not serious. And okay.
That comment we can take, obviously.
This says, declare the seat vacant. Someone is saying, beautiful lady like her should not be taken from Parliament. Let us promote women. They are faithful than many.
Okay, so this one has taken us to a very different tangent.
A very interesting one, okay? This one from Hood says, it's going to be like the last time, scratch my back, I scratch your back. That's all, because it will be suicidal for the majority to expel her. But before that, Street Governor wants her to be stripped of both her ministerial and parliamentary positions. Yeah. Wow. That would be extreme. But we'll wait to see. We've got our fingers crossed because we know Parliament will be going on recess today, Benjamin. There's no call coming through. We are almost getting to the end of the show. But let me take a few more comments. This one says the seat should be declared vacant. Aisha Ibrahim, not our Aisha Ibrahim, says they should declare her seat vacant and also let her pay the damages she caused the country, including the salary she received without any work done. This is brutal, isn't it? No mercy. Give us back our money. And Abdullah says they've kept too long. My problem is she still receiving salary as a member of Parliament? All right, so we have Osman from Damango. I think he'll be our first and last caller. You happen to be a very blessed person today because you are first and last caller. Let's hear you, Osman. Hello, Osman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's hear you, please.
Yes. My contribution has to go to the politicians who talk on the radio and the TV stations.
Please go ahead.
They talk as if those of us who are listening to them, we don't reason. The system is hard, so the government should actually look at it and know that we are complaining, and our 15% COLA should come this month.
Right. Thank you very much, Osman from Damango.
Did he just say he was expecting the COLA
this month? Yes, right. but we didn't hear anything about it in the mid-year budget review. In fact, there was no supplementary budget. So we are wondering where the money will come from. And we were told by the TUC that the finance minister is yet to give them an implementation strategy. Right. So, well, we hope that your wish will be fulfilled. But we can't say for sure. That's how we'll wrap up today's edition of the AM show. Thank you so much for making time to be with Benjamin and I. God willing, tomorrow morning we are back. Don't forget, you can still stay very interactive with us on Facebook. We are JoyNews on TV. On Twitter, we are also JoyNews on TV. Up next is News Desk.